invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now, 'cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now, 'cause we're invincible. Show me a battle horizon. I'll show you an army worth fighting. 'Cause we don't take nothing lying down low. No, we bet teeth and skin ready for biting. So point me in every direction. In the prize I can see my reflection. 'Cause we can take everything you got and spit it right back, 'cause we're ready for action. Take aim and fire up. Smoke's rising higher. You know your time's up. We won't back down for nothing. Take aim and fire up. Smoke's rising higher. You know your time's up. We won't back down for nothing. 'Cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now, 'cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now, 'cause we're invincible. Take aim and fire up. Smoke's rising higher. Take aim and fire.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Countdown to Green. All roads have led up to tonight as one driver will be crowned the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing champion. My name's Amy Long. Thanks so much for spending your Tuesday nights with us on what is sure to be an eventful night as the series takes on the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And what a season it has been. Let's recap the chaos leading up to this moment, the big ones, the overtimes, and every turn that landed a driver in victory lane. Take a look.
Pace car down for the first time in 2021. Let's go racing from Daytona. Oh, and there's contact. Clampets into the outside wall. A huge one. Michael Conti wins the season opener at Daytona. Could this be a sign of things to come? Keegan Leahy, your 2021 winner at Homestead. 3 wide down the back straight, but there's contact. The 10 and the 14 get together. Ryan Luza takes home the checkered flag in Vegas. Last race win came in 2018 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Final time at turn number 4, Logan Clampett wins at Atlanta. And as he comes off for the final quarter, Bob Bryant is a Coke Series winner. He gets the job done in Fontana. That caution at 4 laps to go means we will have to extend this race for an overtime restart. In just his 6th career start, Vicente Salas, your winner at Richmond. Oh, and contact and spinner! Mitchell DeYoung in front of the field. And now it's a role reversal, right? So I wonder how the 36 races him back. He'll slide up, shut the door. Out of turn 4, checkered flag at Kansas to Chris Shearburn. First time under the brakes into turn number 1, there's contact. We knew it was going to be tricky. What a dominating win here at COTA for Mitchell DeYoung. To the inside now, he's got the position. Is this going to be another one of the close calls slipped away as Alfala takes the lead? Ray Alfala is back in victory lane. And in a chaotic finish, all 4 attempts at a green-white checkered finish have been exhausted, and under the caution flag, Bobby Zalenski will take home the checkered flag at Pocono. Long run up the hill out of turn 14 for another dominant performance. Mitchell DeYoung wins at Road America.
And Mitchell DeYoung, I'm hearing he's out of fuel. How about Bobby Zalenski? Powell pushing him forward.
And as he loses his speed, he's bouncing all over the place, and then eventually the wreck happens in turn 3. We are set for a green-white checkered finish. Jimmy Mullis gonna get his 3rd straight New Hampshire win. The battle for the win is gonna come all the way down to the final corner. They get together, and DeYoung is in the tires. Graham Bullen will get his first win of 2021. He gets it done at Watkins Glen. Looky low. Oh, he takes out Leahy. Leahy gets turned. Matheson finished him. Here comes Busa to the inside. Matt Busa wins at Michigan. This race will be settled in overtime. Bobby Zalenski right foot down early. He looks to the inside, but Bobby Zalenski wins at Darlington. He'll have a shot at redemption in the championship fight in 2021. Keegan Leahy emphatically dominates tonight at Bristol and will lock himself in to the championship 4. Conti goes to the outside, but he gets faked out by Bob Bryant, and Nick Ottinger will win at Talladega and bring his teammate Logan Clampett into the championship 4.
Incredible season it was. 14 different winners and a very emphatic Evan Pasoko calling every single one of those races. Incredible job there. Now being joined by series veterans here, Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland, and guest panelist and eNASCAR broadcaster, potential 2022 Coke Series driver, Blake McCandless. Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Oh, we're feeling good. It's like the greatest night ever. I'm so excited.
I know we're crowning a champion, but your thoughts on the season so far, Brandon?
Well, I got to look back at what Chris Overland said in the beginning of the year. He said there was going to be 10 plus winners this year, and somehow Chris Overland was right. We only got 10, but we got 14. I mean, that's crazy,
I don't have enough
dude.
fingers.
Chris was right about something.
Yeah, how are you? How?
Hey, man, I call it like I see it.
I bet. Whatever. All right. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I think that this has absolutely been the best season ever. We've had 14 different winners. We've had 3 first-time winners this year, 2 of them being rookies. We've got 3 long winless streaks that have ended with Matt Busa, Logan Clampett, and Ray Alfala. And nobody in the championship 4 is a past champion. So you add all that up together. I'm not a math whiz, but I think that equals the best season ever. Am I right?
Sure. Your math checks.
Okay, awesome. Well, I mean, Blake, we haven't heard from you in a little while. Let's hear from you.
Well, I think this has been one of the best seasons that we've seen in the history of this series. But the one thought that I take, not only from the season, but looking forward, I think points racing is really a thing of the past. You think of the parity with the next-gen car that's expected. All these drivers, you can look at Matt Busa on your screen, the moves he had to make at the regular season finale in Michigan to get into the playoffs and put himself in position to win a championship. I think that's just going to bring out more aggression. These drivers learn quick, and I think that's one thing we've learned from this year is that points racing in the traditional sense, going up there running in the top 5, guess what? Ask Steve Wilson or Casey Kerwin if that's good enough. Didn't get him in the playoffs this year.
All right, you might be onto something there, Blake. All right, take a look at these team standings going into the final race of the season. A $5,000 prize pool, let me remind you. Blake, your thoughts here?
Well, Chris, looking at this, it almost looks like it's done away. Obviously, William Byron Esports, a potential to try to run them down for that $5,000 prize for the top team in the series. But 2311, man, they have really shown up on the scene. They won a Cup Series race a couple weeks ago, and even sitting here into the eNASCAR side of things, they're reigning supreme right now.
Oh, man, things are trending up for 2311. Big congrats to them on their success in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and in the NASCAR Cup Series. But it is not over. If there was one team, if we reset the points today and everybody was at zeros, I would still think 2311 would be a good pick for the championship and the team championship. But the only other team that I would consider is William Byron Esports, and they're going to need some help. 2311 is going to have a bad run tonight, and William Byron Esports is likely going to have to finish 1-2, which, let's just say, it's not impossible. They've already done it twice this season. Once last week.
Last race.
Yeah, so you're saying there's a chance. All right, let's look at these playoff driver standings as they lie. Chris, your thoughts here?
Man, 10 drivers. We already had a mini playoffs to see who got into the playoffs. We've had the first round done. We've got 4 drivers left. And man, I am excited. Mitchell DeYoung, the rookie. Logan Clampett trying to prove something. Bobby Zielinski trying to prove he can get it done. And Keegan Leahy looking for redemption for 2019. Brandon,
you know what I see here? You know what I see here? I see 2 Toyotas, a Chevrolet, or two Toyotas and 2 Chevrolets. So that's pretty good chance tonight that 50-50, one of those guys are going to bring home a manufacturer championship. So hopefully one of these guys can bring home something for the guys to win tonight.
Yeah, let me remind you that one of these 4 drivers in your championship 4 have to finish in front of the other 3. That's it. They don't have to park it in victory lane. They've just got to finish in front of the other 3. So it's going to be an exciting race for sure. All right, it would not be the Countdown to Green season finale if we didn't have a little awards show. So we're going to bring in our technical director, Cisco Scarmuzza, to help us announce our Countdown to Green awards. Take it away, Cisco.
Thank you, Amy. And for our first award for 2021, it's the award for the best Coca-Cola move of the race. And here are the nominations. Mitchell DeYoung for surviving turn number 1 at Circuit of the Americas. Jimmy Mullis for working his way through the traffic to win at New Hampshire. Graham Bolin for holding off Mitchell DeYoung at Watkins Glen to secure his way into the playoffs. And Matt Busa for flying through the field on the last lap to win a stunner at Michigan.
All right, and your winner for best Coca-Cola move of the race, Graham Bolin at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and then out of the bus stop and into the carousel, the 10 protects, runs the bottom. The 23 has no choice. One little shot here gives him one more shot, but the 10 does a nice job of not opening the door. And then a nice block continues up the racetrack. And then right here, keeping the defensive bottom line, that right there could have been the move. I think if the 23 would have got to the inside, it would have been a difference maker. And then the 10 takes the inside line away, forces the 23 to the outside. And at that point, you knew it was going to be over.
Our second award on the evening is the award for the best burnout. And here are the nominations. Logan Clampett, while winning at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Bob Bryant, while winning at Auto Club Speedway. Vicente Salas, while winning at Richmond. And Bobby Zelensky, while winning at Pocono.
And your best winner, Burnout, Bob Bryant, round 5 at Auto Club.
Bob Bryant started 26th in this race, and as he comes off of the final corner, he'll be the 55th different driver to ever do it. Bob Bryant is a Coke Series winner. He gets the job done in Fontana.
Our third award on the evening is the award for the best paint scheme. And the nominations are Anthony Burrows, Kligerman Sport, and his Valvoline Chevrolet. Mitchell DeYoung, 2311, and his Dr. Pepper Toyota. Jake Nichols, Mode Motorsport, and his next-gen Ford Mustang. And Vicente Salas, Space Station Gaming, and his number 55 Ford Mustang.
All right, and the winner for best paint scheme is Vicente Salas.
Seen at Road America, Vicente's paint impressed the judges with intricate spec map detailing as well as the gradient along the side of the car. Our fourth and final award is the award for the best Grand Marshal and Driver Start Your Engine call this season. And the nominations are
This is Tim Montana, your Grand Marshal tonight for the Coke Series. I am so excited to be here. We're going to go fast. We're going to go loud. Put your seatbelts on, and drivers, start your engines.
I get to do my first command of all time. So with that, I'll jump right into it. Drivers, start your engines!
On behalf of all of the people who work at Kansas Speedway to put on great events, drivers, start your engines!
iRacers, I'm excited to be the Grand Marshal here today.
I'm excited to watch you guys race. And finally, drivers, start your engines!
All right, and winner of Best Grand Marshal, Buffalo Bills running back Antonio Williams. Incredible job. Watch the outtakes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, man. All right, man. All right, man. Here we go. All right, let's see. You ready? iRacers, I'm excited to be the Grand Marshal here today. I'm excited to watch you guys race. And finally, drivers, start your engines!
I can't
All right.
I can't clap with
That was
my
awesome.
push to talk button, but I'm glad I wore a suit. We're having an award show.
There you go.
Amazing.
All right, how about Antonio Williams, though? He was really hype on that one.
Yeah,
I love
he
the
was.
outtake, though. Wonder how many he had.
Yeah, guys, what do you think of tonight's winners?
I gotta look at Bob Bryant. That burnout was awesome. Everybody remembers their first win, unless you're Chris Overland. But dude, that was just really cool. He was spinning through the grass and everything. He blew the motor at the end. He had it all. It was cool.
That was really mean. I want to talk about the paint schemes. The paint schemes that we've seen this year, it's not even the tip of the iceberg. A lot of these drivers, we don't know, for those of us watching at home, a lot of them design and paint their own cars. They do their own graphic design work. Jake Nichols painted his own next-gen car. So my vote personally is for Jake Nichols. It's a great looking car. Jake, one of the greatest painters on the sim. Not only that, but some of the paint schemes we have, some of the new ones we have tonight, Dylan Duvall is a graphic designer, and he's actually sponsored by his own graphic design company tonight, Duvall Creative. Chris Shearburn running a breast cancer awareness paint scheme tonight, a pink one. Beautiful paint schemes. We haven't even seen the best ones.
Well, and I also think about the Coca-Cola move of the race. I mean, you looked at that. Graham Bolin driving the race of his life at Watkins Glen. Kind of gives Mitchell D on the door. He was already locked into the playoffs, but obviously got him in. And I got to think Matt Busa, the way he drove in Michigan on that last lap, that has to be up there.
Absolutely. All right, I'm making the executive decision to do an award show every single episode next season. It's too much fun. All right, this season has been anything but expected. 17 races in, 14 different winners, as we've mentioned, victorious moments, some of them that left us scratching our head. Brandon's pulled out highlights from the second half of the 21 season. Charlotte to Talladega that made us say, come on, man.
All right, guys, here we are. First up at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where we have Ashton Crowder. He's coming down. He's putting out his hand, his virtual hand out the window. He's saying he's going down pit road, but he didn't come over voice chat, and he checks up, and everybody runs in the back of him. He hits the pit wall, causes a big crash. Jimmy Mullis runs right in the back of him there, as you see. Just a terrible incident for everybody involved. Just really bad, to be honest. And that is going to land you right in the spot for come on, man.
This is the best segment we have.
Here we are at
I love
Pocono. So we talk about the best drivers in the world going in ovals just all day long. But for some reason, in this particular moment, we could not go in a triangle that day. We used all 4 attempts at a green-white checkered. Here's some of the wrecks here. The entire field just gets the come on, man, for this one. So I'm going to say it here now. Come on, man. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing?
Come on, best in the world.
Yeah. All right, Road America. This is, I'm really sorry,
no.
Jake. You make really great paint schemes, but sometimes you just cannot shift. Look at the RPMs there. Peaks at 9,800, blows up, misses a shift. Now look at you now, Jake. You're on the bubble. You're on the top 20 bubble. You're out of the points right now, buddy. Come on. This is just very unfortunate from buddy Jake Nichols. Come on, man.
The money
Bet you
shift
he's
is
happy
costing
we
him
got
money.
I bet you he's happy we got sequential next year.
Now we have New Hampshire. We have Brian Schoenberg here racing with Anthony Burrows. Here he comes up off of turn number 4. Brian Schoenberg says, oh, I'm going to clear high. But you're not clear, Brian. You cannot do that, buddy. Caused himself to wreck. He says, oh, I want to be a part of the wall, I guess. Down here, down the front straightaway. Brian, if that was your real life Camaro, I know you wouldn't be doing that. Come on, man.
Oh no.
Here we are at Watkins Glen for what is probably the best race of the year. Mitchell DeYoung constantly giving the bumper to Graham Boland for the win. The last couple laps, he's basically beating the back bumper off here. He's using all he can do here. You can see right here, here's the bumper. Once, twice, could they come through the short chute, down the back straightaway here, but he goes high. Haven't you watched Days of Thunder, Mitchell? You do not go to the outside on the last lap. He goes high of Graham, and Graham walls him, which is well-deserved. Come on, man.
Larry Mack and DW said it best. He put him in the wall.
He put him in the wall. All right, Michigan International Speedway. Here comes Keegan Leahy leading on the final lap. He's going to block high, but then he's going to block low on James Matheson. And if I've learned anything over iRacing the last 10 years, you do not block twice. Keegan Leahy had a win in the bag here if he could have just protected, but he could not block. Come on, man. Come on, Keegan. Come on, Weather Boy. Darlington. I'm sorry for dishing out DeYoung here twice, but I think this is what really ultimately cost him the race. Here's the first time he's coming down pit road. We had a lot of green flag runs here. He gets into a slide, kind of a power slide. Really good job getting down pit road here, but it's not the best here on pit entry, and it definitely loses the time. But this is the one I wanted to talk about. This one, he almost spins out on pit road entry. It definitely loses at least a second and a half here to Bobby Zielinski, who was on a different strategy and ultimately won. Come on, man. Here we are. It's Bristol, baby. We have Vicente Salas. He's been hitting Graham Boland for the last couple laps. He's definitely Vicente tonight, or was that night, and he's right in the back bumper of Graham here. But hey, if you're gonna hit some guy, you got to make sure you're not gonna be a part of the wreck too, Vicente. So ultimately, Vicente gets right front damage, and that does not allow him to advance into the final four. Come on, man. Talladega. Oh man, this one gets to me. Bob made the move on the last lap to get by Michael Conti, but he didn't lay back on the last lap. He didn't build the energy he needed to win, and it ultimately cost him the race and a chance at the final four. I love you, Bob, but you gotta do something else on the last lap at Talladega instead of following in line, buddy. This is just one of those that gets you. Come on, man.
I love that.
All right.
Amy, come on.
I feel like you need to take a breath, so I'm going to take it over from here. Brandon, are you sweating over there?
I am.
Check your blood pressure, buddy.
I know. Man, way to wrap up the last half of this season with your come on. That, Chris, you're right. That might be one of my favorite segments.
Oh, yeah. By far mine.
Oh, yeah. All right, we sat down with championship contender Logan Clampett and chatted about why he joined William Byron Esports, season struggles, prospects on winning the championship, and nerves going into tonight.
I joined William Byron Esports because I feel like it would give me more of a drive to be teammates with Nick Ottinger, who's always been like super fast. I've always worked with him, the past few years. We work really well together on and off the track. And it's just more convenient, I feel like, with William and our team manager within about an hour radius or something like that. And once I got to know William and our team manager, Jody, it's been really fun, and it's just given me a lot of motivation because I wanted to prove to them that I could do better than what I was doing on my previous team. I think some of the struggle for us was that we couldn't get enough luck in the races, or we weren't positioning ourselves correctly in the races, which ended up being a kind of a rough summer for us, at least. I was floating around second, third place in points at the beginning of the season. Then when the summer came around, I dropped to around 11th, 12th in, regular driver points. So it was a struggle for us, probably just because, we weren't positioning ourselves correctly, but we were definitely bringing the cars we needed to every race. Getting a win for the team and locking myself in the playoffs was a really big deal, especially breaking a 44 race winless streak. I felt like after just constant, just no luck at all, I feel like, I was just never going to win again. And thankfully we brought a really good car and we got some luck on our side. And, we won the race, and, here we are in the Championship 4. When I look at my competition entering the Championship 4, I look at Bobby as aggressive, I look at Keegan as determined, and I feel like I look at Mitchell as consistent. I'd say I'm paying attention to Keegan the most, just because I feel like he's more determined to win this championship, because he's been so close so many times. He was so close to it in 2019. I feel like he's going to be very, very determined this time around. To win the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship would mean everything to me. I've been doing this for such a long time, and I feel like people have seen very different sides of me throughout the years, and I feel like winning that, it feels like, I could still do this, and I can still prove that I can, win a championship. On race day, of course, I'm going to be nervous. I think the other three will as well. We've all put in so much time and effort into this race, and over the past few years, and no one in the Championship 4 has actually won a championship. So, of course, we're all going to be nervous. I'm going to be pretty nervous, but if you think about it, worst I can get is 4th. If I get 4th, all well. It is a big difference, to be champion and to finish 4th. But I'm very thankful to be sitting in this position once again for the second time, fighting for a championship, and I think that's the biggest thing.
And really glad that he took the time to sit down with us. Talk about nerves, though. Let's talk about this relegation and how the contender schedule is going to look going into the 21 season contender schedule. Have a look here, guys. Our very own Brandon Cattell has won in the Contender Series, and Chris Overland crowned Contender Series champion once before. And Blake, our guest panelist, gearing up for it this season. Let's take a look at that schedule now. Looks like we're extending it to 7 races, guys. Thoughts here?
Man,
Chris?
I wish we were there, Brandon.
Yeah, I wish we were.
Blake's
too.
going to be having fun.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Dude, we have Homestead on there. The Homestead's a great track for racing. With the
Especially
Xfinity
in
car.
that Xfinity car, yeah. Slipping, sliding. I'm looking at Dover. Dover is one of the hardest tracks on the service in any car. Throw in that Xfinity car, and you're going to be out to lunch if you don't have a good car.
I'm looking at no plate tracks, no road courses. Is that?
Yeah, I would have loved to be there.
Hey, what I see here is no gimmicks.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we sat down with championship contender Keegan Leahy about his goals and priorities for the 21 season, what it's been like being a member of the 2311 team, and doing whatever it takes to seal the deal tonight.
So at the start of the year, my goal was just to stay in the top 20, and whatever happened after that happened. My first win was the second race of the year, so immediately my focus shifted from just making the top 20 to preparing for the playoffs and hopefully winning a championship. My priorities shifted away from just points racing and doing well enough to stay in the hunt to all of a sudden just going for wins. That's really all that mattered. I had a little consideration of trying to win the team championship with my teammate, my 2311 teammate Mitchell DeYoung. But it looks like we've got that locked up now, which is pretty cool. It does feel like a new team, kind of, because in the real life racing, it is a brand new team. I'm not just interacting with Denny, but I'm interacting with the entire 2311 team. Behind the scenes, it's really nice to have a teammate that's part of your official team as someone you're actually working with. This year with Mitchell, that's been much better for us because we can work together. There's been a lot of times that we've qualified first and second place. So it's a huge advantage not only to prepare for qualifying together and both be able to start up front, but we're also able to work together during the race to maintain those positions. I met Mitchell a few years ago because I joined Coined SimSport as part of their NASCAR division. He ended up spotting me for a season, and initially he didn't understand hardly anything about NASCAR, but through that season, he slowly learned the racecraft and how strategy worked. I could see the progression and like how useful he got through the season. And then I kind of came up with the suggestion, and I'm sure he was thinking it in the back of his mind. Go for the qualifier series, see how you do. You're clearly an extremely good driver. You're able to, compete top 3 in Porsche every year, win these rallycross events, and before long he was the fastest guy in those races. He easily made the Coke field. Some people say it takes a season for you to get rid of your rookie mistakes. It only took him like 4 races. It's really difficult to pinpoint the guy that I'm most fearful of, because I'm scared of the unknown of what Logan Clampett's capable of. How fast is he? What he'll do at the end of a race to go for that 100K. But I'd say Mitchell's my biggest competitor. So in previous years, I feel like I've been probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest driver. Every year I lead the championship at some point in the regular season. So a lot of times I ask myself, why hasn't it happened yet? Why haven't I won the championship? Part of it comes down to luck, but maybe part of it does come down to execution at the end of the year. Why can't I have those dominating performances in the last race? I get a lot of people bringing that up in 2019 and thinking I raced Zach too nicely. If you play it back, I left absolutely no space to him. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to leave him, a car's about, 6 feet wide? I left him 6 feet and 1 inch. And somehow he placed his car perfectly in that hole. And I commend him for that. It was very highly skilled and he kept cool in a very tense moment. But I was full on gonna let him wall himself if he made a small mistake. With that said, last time was for $40,000, tonight's for $100,000. And that does make a difference. That's a life-changing amount of money instead of a life-altering amount of money. I'm not a dirty racer. I'm not going to just drive into the corner and crash the guy, but, whatever it takes, I'll probably do it in the final corner if it comes down to it.
Really interesting to hear these playoff drivers talk about each other and how they stack up in the competition. Also interesting to hear Keegan talk about the measurements of his car. Speaking of that, we're excited headed into next year. We're headed into a new car, the next gen car. Can't wait to see what these machines can do. Take a look.
Welcome to a landmark day in NASCAR history. The next gen car is the most revolutionary vehicle in the history of the sport.
This is a significant moment for our sport. This car is more relevant and includes more innovation than any car in NASCAR history. We really wanted to get back to a promise that we had made to the fans, which is to put the stock back in stock car.
First and foremost, that this will be more in the hands of the drivers, which all of our fans want. We're really looking forward to our drivers going out there and showcasing their abilities. They're the best in the world at doing what they do. So we believe that the car that our engineering team and the entire industry has put together is going to enable us to do that.
'Cause we're invincible.
Simply put, this car will make our sport healthier and stronger. It's an exciting day for our industry and our fans, and I'm proud of all the work that went into bringing us to today.
All All right, as we mentioned, measurements. Let's take a look at this season's car compared to the next-gen car. Brandon, the width of the noses already here. We're seeing a difference.
Oh yeah, first off, I want to say I love that video. Love that iRacing can paint the picture of things to come in real life. But look at the front ends here and compare them. Look at the Gen 6 car. We've got 76.5 inches. That's a big difference from the 78.6 inches on the next gen car. So obviously the next gen car is a little bit wider, looking for a little bit more mechanical grip there. Chris, you have a little bit on the length, I believe, right?
I'm gonna take care of the height of it. Now, the one thing that I want to say really in general about the next gen car is that every time we change a car in NASCAR, somebody new comes out and starts making a difference, and I'm really excited to see who figures this thing out first. On the left, Gen 6 car, 53.5 inches tall, which is just about as tall as one of our old friends, Eric J. Smith. And then on the right side, we've got 50.4 inches of the new next-gen car. Lower center of gravity, higher corner speeds. We're going to see some crazy short track racing with this thing. Blake, what do you got?
Well, I'm looking at the length of this car, Chris. Obviously, a lot shorter here in the next-gen car. It's probably one of the bigger differences that we see. 208 inches in the Gen 6 down to 193.4 in this car. So, yeah, I mean, that's roughly a 15-inch difference between both of these race cars. So that is one thing that's going to make these really interesting to see at a lot of plate tracks or at a lot of the speedways where these things will really be bunched up.
And let's talk about the foundation of all of it, the tires from the ground up. We're actually looking at an increase to the width of the rim. The brakes are even 3 inches bigger. And I know that, Chris, this optical illusion here kind of threw you for a loop. But yes, looking at 12-inch brakes currently, 15-inch brakes going forward, wider tread on these tires as well. So it's going to be a big mix-up. And I'm with you, Chris. I'm excited to see who figures this car out first. That's the exciting part about the next-gen car. It's going to be quite incredible. All right, guys, but where do we want to see these tracks? Where do we want to see these cars run? Which tracks do we want to see? I personally would love to see them at Daytona. It's the Super Bowl of our sport. Perhaps another season opener. We'll see. But Brandon, what about you? Where do you want to see these cars?
Well, I mean, I think it's an obvious pick. Watkins Glen, we had the best race of the year at the Glen this year in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And one of the biggest things is these cars they drive like a sports car now. They sound like a sports car. They've got bigger brakes. These are perfect for a road racing experience. So I'm super excited to see what these cars can do on the high-speed road course of Watkins Glen. Just have one of those fantastic Watkins Glen finishes that we've had in the past. I believe Chris is up next, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And, you know, I'm sure Twitter already knows my opinion of this racetrack, but it doesn't matter what car you take. Rockingham is a great speedway. Please, we got to bring it back, man. This car is going to corner faster. It's going to brake quicker. It's going to be able to run different grooves. It's going to be slick. It's going to be hard to drive. It's going to tear those tires up. And that's exactly what I want to see out of this next-gen car. Please take us to Rockingham. Let us beat and bang and fight off turn 2, run multiple grooves. Stay off the brakes, boys.
Certainly so, Chris. I cannot disagree with you there. Trying to go to the Rock. I love that racetrack, very close to Raleigh as well. But I'm going to think outside the box. We think of iRacing. We get to imagine a lot of things. We get to experiment. I know iRacing's been a big part of that in the Pro Invitational Series with the newly configured Atlanta Auto Club, Chicago Street Course, you name it. And thinking about that Chicago Street Course winner, James Davison, I thought of Australia. What about we think outside the box here? Let's go to Mount Panorama Circuit at Bathurst. These cars are built like supercars. Look at these narrow hills that these drivers would have to climb, the long straightaways. We get to see a lot of draft come into play. I think this would be a great experiment for what these cars are built and what they're molded after. This would be an amazing racetrack for it, Amy.
Yeah, I'm sure all of those would be incredibly exciting. All right, let's bring back our good friend James Pike, who has our producer's thoughts on the topic. Hey, James, how you doing?
Hello, Amy. Yeah, no, I managed to come back and glad to be back. Glad to share some time with y'all and speak for those who are a little bit too busy to speak right now. So we'll go to our technical director first, Cisco Scaramouche, who has a little bit on his hands. You see his wonderful box of buttons and all that he has to deal with, bringing up all sorts of videos and things during these broadcasts. But Cisco said he wants to take these cars to the Suzuka International Racing Course, better known as the Suzuka Circuit in Japan. To Brandon's point about these cars being built for road courses, that was part of the goal with the development of the next-gen car, to be a better road course car than the Gen 6 that we've seen for the past few years. And you look at some of the things they've done to make them more like Australian supercars, like GT3 cars. We have a sequential gearbox in these machines. We have symmetrical chassis for the first time ever. So Cisco said, if we're going to take them road course racing a little bit more, let's take them not only to one of the best road courses in the world, but let's take them to a place where NASCAR actually has some history. Because in 1996 and 1997, NASCAR actually held postseason exhibition races at Suzuka. Rusty Wallace and Mike Skinner were your winners. So Cisco says, let's take it one of the best. Let's go all in on this road course racing thing. And I'll admit, not that anybody asked me, but Suzuka is also my favorite track on the planet too. So I would say Suzuka as well. Now, as for our director, Drew Adamson, who likes to yell in our ears and have a little bit of fun with us. Drew is an Atlanta native, and we have a running joke within our team here that he might as well just go ahead and marry Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta because he loves it so much. But Drew would take them to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. He says that Road Atlanta is the perfect racetrack. You can take any car and put it on any configuration here, and it would put on a good show. I think the next gens would fall right into that bucket. Never mind the fact that NASCAR also owns Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, so it wouldn't necessarily be that hard to organize things, at least be a little bit easier than some of the other tracks that might be available to us. But I think Road Atlanta would be a really fun show, not terribly far away from the home of NASCAR, and definitely a place that I'd love to see the next Cisco race as well.
All right. Thanks so much, James. Your knowledge is extensive. You make them sound really good. And wouldn't have been a finale celebration here on Countdown to Green without you. Thanks for joining us. All right. We've got 4 different time zones represented by these drivers. Perhaps the most demanding schedule, playoff contender Mitchell DeYoung and his sleep schedule with competing from Germany. We're going to talk to him about racing teammates, his mentor, who he thinks the wild card is, and how he prepared for the final race of this season.
Racing at 3 a.m. Is definitely not easy. You know, for those 2-3 days, it's a little bit of a graveyard shift where you need to stay up quite late, have a odd sleep schedule where you're waking up at like noon, staying up until like 6 a.m. You know, we've had a few races in California when I've gotten to go back for a little bit of a holiday, and that's been nice. It's certainly been easier to race at 5:30 p.m. I think it was. It's certainly not ideal to be racing at this time zone for the eNASCAR stuff. Obviously, it works really well for the road racing side and other events that we do out here in Germany. I would say that NASCAR racing is a lot more difficult to control. You know, on road course that I'm more used to, if you're fast, you can pretty much just control the race. If you qualify pole, you can just do your thing, just run fast, hot lap every lap, and ideally make no mistakes and win. Beforehand, I still didn't really feel like I had proved myself on the oval. I haven't really put together a race, but kind of once Darlington rolled around and Bristol as well, like I felt like something has changed, and we've kind of gotten a better grasp on it, which I'm thankful for that it happened at this point of the season and that we made it in. Competition is really difficult. You know, it's one thing to kind of race with people that you don't really know that are in other teams and stuff like that, where you don't know what they're going to bring to the race. But it's actually really difficult racing teammates that will be on the same setup. You know, Keegan as well has kind of been my mentor since starting oval racing, and you know, spotting for him for the last couple of years. For me, it's like a really cool moment to actually share the Final Four with him. I know what Bobby and Keegan have in testing. We all will know each other's stuff, but the one unknown that we don't know about is going to be Clamp. For this championship, Logan Clampett is the wild card. I'm super excited to be heading into my first championship 4. You know, I really feel like I should be more nervous about it, but I'm just like so excited, so stoked that I was actually able to just make the Final Four. You know, if you put in the work and, you know, you check all the boxes for setting up the car, preparing yourself to be ready for any situation. That's all you can really ask for, and then you just hope the race goes well. If the checkered flag falls our way and we are the champion at the end of it, I don't know if I'm mentally prepared to experience this yet. I think it's going to be a big celebration if it works out. To bring 2311, the first championship, would be quite something. Even if it goes Keegan's way, I would still be really stoked for the team. I think you never know with this type of racing where you might end up, maybe someone messes up their qualifying lap or has an incident or a moment in the race, they hit the wall, something, anything can happen. So, you just have to be on it 100% and hope you're the one that is in the front of the other three at the end of it.
All right, he's absolutely right. Anything can happen, and I'm thinking the underglow of the bed might help him with that time difference here while we're racing. We'll hear the celebration from Germany, I'm sure. All right, my favorite segment here on Countdown to Green, we get a glimpse into your world. We love all the drivers out there sharing pictures of their rigs from home. This segment brought to you by Logitech. Here's a look at more rigs for the archive, guys. Let's check them out.
They make RGB mouse pads now?
Amazing.
That's crazy. Technology's awesome.
That's a different kind of monitor setup. All right, this is pretty cool. He's got his work desk. I see.
This is a streamer.
Yeah.
Maroon. Varen? Sorry if I butchered it. Looks good. And then we have Matthias. I'm not a fan of the monitor, but everything else is very clean.
Yeah.
I keep it real here on Twitter
Nice.
Rigs.
I like the seat a lot. It's very clean.
Oh,
Sim
we have
Kev.
a comic fan here.
Yeah, Captain America.
Clean room. He's got look at the child gate, so the kid can't turn off his computer in the
No.
background there.
Or the dog.
Or the dog.
Incredible.
Oh, we've got
it's
Steve
Steve.
Myers.
Steve Myers.
Steve's
And
got the game on.
And he's a good man. He's got the Boston Red Sox game.
He's got 2 games on.
That's is that the hood from Marcus Ambrose's car?
I think 2009. Yeah, I've got that
Oh,
deck.
wow.
Yes.
And then I think that's the Ravens Colts game. I bet on that one. I don't want to talk about it. That's a nice big monitor though. Ultra wides are cool.
Yeah, that's a great setup. All right, we sat down with Bobby Zielinski and talked about his competitors, how his 80% record of being in the championship force shaped his last season, his biggest shocks of the 21 season, and what he thinks the recipe for success will be tonight.
None of my competitors make me nervous, honestly. I mean, all 3 of them are the same to me out there. They're just other cars. This is just another race to me, to be honest, at this point. Which is weird to say because it's worth so much money, but I've been in this race now 4 times. Going into Pocono, like, I was in that part of the year where I was losing pretty much all hope that I would actually even make the playoffs because it looked like you had to win. I knew Mitchell coming in was going to be the guy to beat on road. I mean, he's a better road course racer than me in actual road racing cars. And with the road courses being a little less likely to win, I didn't think I was probably going to make the playoffs. I just thought this was going to be like my worst year, and it was just a slump from getting runner-up in 2020. I can be consistent enough to point my way in this Final Four, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to win one of these races. But it didn't happen. Like, I won Darlington, which surprised me because I was horrible as a driver going into that race. And I somehow won because I just out-strategized everybody. So another surprise this season. It's just been weird. Like, it doesn't feel like a championship-worthy season, but maybe it doesn't have to be. In previous years, especially last year in 2020, like, I thought everything was lining up to be my year. And I was just really fast in that Homestead race, and it just felt like it would make sense if this was my year because I felt like I'd kind of earned it. Mentally, when you get so close, like I did in 2020, and I'd literally gotten as close as you can get, I was kind of like, I guess, on a slump after that. Just mentally, it was just not the same kind of, I wouldn't say drive, but just feeling racing through the season. It was almost like I was starting the season just waiting for the playoffs to start again because it was like I had unfinished business and the regular season just didn't matter as much to me anymore. And I wasn't practicing the way I should have been, and I was just like, I was just over it a bit. I just wasn't feeling the same, and it kind of showed in my results, but it's also getting wrecked a lot. I had a disconnect. It's just like, stuff out of my control as well. all the things I thought made sense and like momentum and stuff, I've just realized don't matter. I've just kind of accepted more the reality of this kind of racing that is a lot of it is not in your hands, and not to try to even be close to being superstitious about anything or thinking you deserve whatever, because nobody deserves anything and you get what you get. You obviously got to work hard to put yourself in the best position. That still of course matters. So I've kind of changed my mentality about a lot of things where it's just like it's truly random sometimes, and it's been probably good for me, honestly. Guess you'll just have to wait and see if I win the title what my emotions really are going to be in that moment, because I have no idea. If I make 4 Final Fours and don't win one, in 5 years, is what it is. This is my 5th year, and I guess that's also a long time and not that much time, but I think it's just this is the 4th opportunity. So like if I win it this time, it's kind of a relief, like I knew what I was talking about. Like I actually can do this, because I know I can just based off 2020, and I know when the pressure is on, I don't crack. Like you're gonna get the best of me. I don't care how big the moment is.
All right, that was our final playoff contender for this finale. Thanks so much to them, and good luck to all of them too. Tonight, the round 18 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series takes on the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We turn to Texas native Chris Overland for track analysis.
Yeehaw! Here we are, Texas Motor Speedway. Opened in 1996, same year I was born, and that has nothing to do with tonight's race, but you know what does? We have 4 drivers, neither of them have won a championship before, and this track opened with 12 first-time winners. We've had 14 this year. What a perfect place. What a storybook ending to tonight. Reconfigured in 2017 to be bigger, wider, provide more side-by-side racing, and it's going to be quick tonight, guys. And the one thing I do want to point out, one of Logan Clampett's technical alliance members, Michael Conti, won this race last year. Logan Clampett finished 4th, but another thing to keep in mind, 3rd was Bobby Zielinski.
All these things to think about. It's going to be an exciting race for sure. Now, if you've been following all season, you know these guys have been on the same page. They've been duking it out. Some of our most colorful content comes during these pick debates. So I want to say our pick champion for Countdown to Green is Brandon Cattell. Congratulations.
Somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I won after being so far behind.
They changed the rules for you.
Getting into picks now. I'm picking Logan Clampett to win the championship. He's the odd man out. I think he's going to get it done tonight.
You know, Brandon, you and I do not get along on a lot of different topics, but on this one in particular, I agree. Logan Clampett, he's the only one going in tonight blind, and that might be good. He's got 2 past champions in Michael Conti and Nick Ottinger helping him out. So we'll see.
You know what? I'm not gonna debate with you long. I'm gonna go with the guy that is gonna party all day because he's racing in the morning. I'm gonna go with Mitchell DeYoung. He's gonna have that $100,000 and be able to party all day and celebrate.
Hey, Blake,
and our answer just around the corner. Our driver picks brought to you by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Now, it wouldn't have been a finale celebration without bringing in Junior Motorsports team owner and first ever eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series winner, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Thanks so much for joining us on Countdown to Green. Your drivers are what led you to having. I'm tongue-tied. We've got Dale Jr. on our show, you guys. What led you to having your drivers on your team?
Brad Davies and I have been friends for almost 20 years. I met Brad in sim racing and in NASCAR racing 2003. We had a league and Brad was a part of that. And we became friends, and he is one of probably a half a dozen people that I've met through sim racing, and now they are employed or have been employed at Junior Motorsports at some point in their lives. And he still works in IT at Junior Motorsports, moved up from Florida where he was born and raised. And, we've become good friends, and he's been a great employee, and when we started looking at being a franchise or a part of this series as an owner, I looked to Brad as basically our team general manager. And I said, it's up to you to figure out how we can draft the best drivers. Hopefully he's one of them. But the fact that he worked in-house NIT at Junior Motorsports, and Junior Motorsports was going to now be an owner in the series, I basically put it on his shoulders to create that team or draft the best drivers that we could. Luckily for us, it worked out to where he was available in the draft when it came our turn to get our second pick that year, and we chose Brad, or he chose himself, however you want to look at it. But Conti was at the top of our list. Brad and I talked about Michael multiple times, and he was at the top of our list, and he was available for us when it came our turn to choose. And we've continued to grow the relationships with Michael, and he's been a great representative of our sponsors. And one of our partners, WR1, Chad Wheeler, builds sim rigs out in the Midwest, and that's been a great relationship. He started that company from scratch right around the time we came into the series as an owner, and so with me and him and Michael, we've kind of all done this together, and his company is thriving. So it's been kind of fun to see all that's came from being a part of this series, and we hope to continue to work with Michael going forward, and Brad as well. Brad's been around the series for a really long time, so I never know when he's thinking about retiring. But it's been fun working with him, and I think that with our guys, I just know what I'm going to get when it comes to performance on the racetrack, when it comes to social media promotion, managing the team. They're never going to disappoint me, and they're always going to represent us well.
All right. Thanks so much, Dale, for joining us here on Countdown to Green. Fans, there's much more Dale Earnhardt Jr. later in the broadcast, as he is the Grand Marshal for tonight's big finale, Texas Motor Speedway. Thank you so much for an incredible season. It's been a great time with the Countdown to Green crew. Any final thoughts, guys?
Man, this has been great. Quick shout out, Michael Guerrilla couldn't be here tonight. Michael, we love you.
We love you, buddy.
James, Blake, everybody. Man, we're in for a
Drew,
show.
Cisco, everybody behind the scenes who edits everything. Thank you so much, guys. iRacing. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it really has. True pleasure. Thanks so much, like they said, to everybody behind the camera that brings the Countdown to Green to life. My expert panel of drivers, Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland. Hey, good luck in the Contender Series. Blake McCandless, glad you're with us tonight. Tonight, an eNASCAR champion is crowned. Round 18 at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway is next. Enjoy the race.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
I am a driver with a dream. And part of that dream is making all the doubters believe that my name belongs here. I may be new to some, but I am not to be taken lightly.
Oh, and now they're really going at it. Yeah, they are.
Because if you let your guard down, I will rise above. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
Welcome, everyone, to the Texas Motor Speedway. In the Lone Star State, there can be no more fitting setting when tonight only one star will shine brightest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the finale. Before the green flag drops tonight, let's take a short look back to the past to see how this 2021 season took shape.
Michael Conti wins the season opener at Daytona. Keegan Leahy, your 2021 winner at Homestead. Logan Clampett wins at Atlanta. Out of turn 14 for another dominant performance, Mitchell DeYoung wins at Road America. But Bobby Zelensky wins at Darlington. Keegan Leahy emphatically dominates tonight at Bristol and will lock himself in to the championship for...
Everybody knows what the stakes are tonight. $100,000, an eNASCAR championship, and eternal glory. Will it be DeYoung, Leahy, Zelensky, or Clampett? Ring the bell. 4 drivers walk into Texas Motor Speedway with only one being able to leave a champion.
The road to $300,000 ends tonight. We're from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Championship 4 finale of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're happy that you're with us on another Tuesday night with Steve Letarte. My name is Evan Pasocco, and Steve, we've been talking about it through these entire playoffs. The road started with 10 championship hopefuls, but tonight it can only be one of 4 drivers, all in search of their first career eNASCAR title.
Well, and if you look at the playoffs and really the entire regular season, I believe it's going to take a win tonight. When you look at the names of these 4 drivers, their success rate, the speed that they've had at all the different variety of racetracks, I think if a driver wants to feel they're going to be a champion, they better expect to go to victory lane. I believe it's going to take a win to be crowned champion.
And there's 2 big battles going on tonight. Primarily the battle for the championship, but for everybody else, a battle to stay in this series. Relegation will be determined this afternoon. All the names in blue could either go up or go down. Remember, the top 20 drivers will lock into this championship for 2022. 21st on the back. We'll have to go through that contender series, Steve, that was talked about in Countdown to Green. Such a unique thing about this eNASCAR championship, and that's kind of the fight inside the fight tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this series so strong, because no one's safe. And at the beginning of the year, if you tried to handicap who would be in, who would be out, who would make the championship 4, who would avoid relegation, I think you would struggle to do that. We have some big names in blue. We even have some big names that aren't in blue, but they're below the line. They're going to be removed, and they know it. They know they're not moving on. So you don't have to look any farther than Real Fowler right there in 22nd. Hard to believe that name is below the red line, but he is, and he's going to have a good night tonight to guarantee a seat back in this series next year.
Yeah, by my count, 3 past champions in that bubble fight tonight. We'll be monitoring that as well. But we are ready to go racing for the 18th and final time here in 2021. So let's hand things off to tonight's Grand Marshal, a past Coke Series winner and iRacing Executive Director, Dale Earnhardt Jr., for the most famous words in motorsports.
An 18-race season comes down to this. 4 drivers going for $100,000. Are you ready? Gentlemen, start your engines.
It's time for the finale. 8 months, 17 races, countless hours of testing, prep, and practice has all come down to this. 4 drivers, 167 laps, and 1 shot to etch their name into sim racing history and take home a cool $100,000. All 4 of these drivers have never won an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series championship before, but that all changes tonight, deep in the heart of Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship 4. The only driver who has tasted glory at the top level of iRacing, the former Rallycross champion, is looking to stake his claim as one of the best drivers on the service by taking home the championship tonight in his first season of eNASCAR competition. Hailing from Temecula, California, representing one half of 2311 Racing in the number 23 Toyota Camry, it is Mitchell DeYoung. In tonight's Championship 4, hailing from the shores of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Having come so close in 2019, taking home 2nd place, he's trying to replace that silver with gold here in Texas in 2021. Driving the number 32 Toyota Camry and representing the other half of 2311 Racing, it's Keegan Leahy. A 5-year veteran to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and one of the most successful of your Championship 4. Over the last 4 seasons, his average championship finish, 3.5. Suffering a heartbreaker last year, he's looking to prove to everybody that he deserves the top step of that podium tonight. In the number 83 Letarte Esports Chevrolet from Fresno, California, Bobby Zalenski. Another 5-year eNASCAR veteran who's had a very strong season and even better showing in the playoffs. With an average finish of 4th over the past 3 races, he's looking to convert the best season of his career into his ultimate victory. In the number 97 William Byron Esports Chevrolet from the heart of NASCAR country in Concord, North Carolina, it is Logan Clampett. Everybody already knows what the stakes are tonight. $100,000, an eNASCAR championship, and eternal glory in the sim racing world. Will it be DeYoung, Leahy, Zalenski, or Clampett? Ring the bell, because it is a 4-way fight to see who will become your eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion.
And let's go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And it is a 23-11 Racing front row lockout. For the 6th time this season, Mitchell DeYoung is on pole position, and his championship counterpart and teammate Keegan Leahy's alongside in second. Then a lot of big heavy hitters but non-playoff drivers on row number 2 as Ryan Luza joins Casey Kerwin, Nathan Lyon ahead of a past series champion Michael Conti, Steve, in P6.
Yeah, Vicente Salos will be inside row 4. Graham Boland on the outside, row 4. Looking back at row 5, Bobby Zielinski, another one of the championship 4, will be inside row 5 next to Steven Wilson on the outside. And then looking at row 6, Dylan Duvall and Kane Cook.
This is in the midfield portion. You'll find Bob Bryant alongside with Corey Vincent. Michael Cassidy, Matt Busa will be alongside one another ahead of Ashton Crowder and Taylor Hirsch. You got Malik Ray, longtime series veteran Brad Davies in the mix as well in the top 20.
Yeah, and as you get outside the top 20, it's going to be a nail-biting start for these drivers. As we see Nick Ottinger back there in row 11. Traffic is going to come into play here at Texas. It's very, very tight racing. Ray Alfalo, we mentioned, trying to avoid relegation. Garrett Maines will be in row 12. Femi Olat and John Gorlinski make up row 13.
Yeah, way back in traffic. You talk about how it's going to be a bit of a sketchy start for these drivers with Lowe as well. Doucette and Bose through your top 30. But this is the big storyline, I think. Row number 16, Logan Clampett in the 97 is starting this race from a 31st position. He has the lowest average starting spot on the intermediates in 2021 amongst his championship 4 counterparts, and he is way off the mark tonight, Steve.
Yeah, and your concern is just how lucky can you get as you see Shearburn and Mullis in row 17. You know, while a starting position doesn't dictate where you're going to finish, it just is such an uphill battle, and if someone else makes a mess early, you're going to get caught up into it.
And on the back row, you see Justice and Matheson that rounds through your 40-car grid. So we talked about the qualifying struggles for Clampett. Well, Mitchell DeYoung has been the opposite. He has qualified in the top 3 for every single mile-and-a-half race this season, Steve, and he is on pole tonight at Texas. You're dialed up with the driver of the 23.
Mitchell, I feel like you and I have become first-name basis with your unbelievable qualifying this year. I talked to you before every race. Well, let's talk to you about it. 18 races or 17 races in. This is the final one with the championship on the line. Where's the confidence? Where are the nerves?
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool stat. I didn't know about that, actually. But to be honest, I'm having fun. Like, I think this is the least nervous I've ever been. I'm just really excited to just, get going here. I felt really good about qualifying, but I was just a little bit nervous going into it, but everything's gone to plan. It's really nice to have Keegan up here with me, my 2311 teammate. So, part of the job is done, and now I think the really tough part is about to begin. So hopefully we can keep it together, and maybe we could be, a little bit richer at the end of this race.
Well, you lead me to my second question, and that is your teammate. On the outside, your teammates, but you're competing for one championship. I know you want to bring it in to the 2311 banner, but I'm sure you would rather be the champion over Keegan. At what point do teammates go out the window and you have to race for yourself in the closing laps?
I think we've kind of mutually agreed that we're all out to kind of win it ourselves. Ideally, we don't crash into each other. As long as we don't break that rule, then, I think everything else is up for grabs. So hopefully we have a great race. Ideally, we just kind of run around here the whole time and we can battle it out. But I think you guys will see it's going to be really crazy in these opening laps. So, hopefully we can hold our track position here.
Well, it's been a great season regardless of tonight. Congratulations on that, and good luck on the next 167 laps.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that is the words from your pole sitter, and this is just the 3rd different racetrack, Steve, that will host the eNASCAR Championship. Charlotte hosted it way back in 2010, but it has been Homestead Miami from 2011 through last year in 2020. Texas makes its championship debut. Walk us through it with a look at our ASUS race analysis.
167 laps, 250 miles. We see that pit lane about 23 seconds plus a pit stop, 6 sets of tires in that fuel window. We'll call it around 60 laps, but we've learned, Evan, don't believe these guys. When they got to stretch it, they find a way to get some great fuel efficiency.
Always interesting how they do that, right? It looks like sunny, clear conditions as well. 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp pretty warm, though, under the Texas sun at 100 degrees. And again, working on the long run going to be, I think, the key tonight. Let's welcome in the third member of our broadcast team, Tim Terry, joining us from the pit lane. Tim, what you got for us?
And Steve hit the nail on the head there, Evan. A lot of these teams already talking about fuel and trying to stretch it on the fuel mileage here this evening. The one other thing that I've been hearing from these teams is trying to track this track temperature and track this ambient temperature. It's been dropping since practice. These guys are playing with tape. We may see a couple of these drivers gamble, and we might see a couple overheat, not only in these race cars, but on the racetrack.
Looking forward to that all night long. We'll be checking in with you over the course of tonight's 250-mile race. Well, all of these drivers in the championship four, no strangers to big moments. Mitchell DeYoung, the rookie, is a past iRacing world champion in Rallycross, but the other three, Clampett, Leahy, and Zelensky, have all finished second in an eNASCAR championship fight in the past. Everybody wants to change that here tonight, and none of those four have ever won here at Texas. The pace car going to dive down to the safety of the pit lane. It is Mitchell DeYoung's field to control for one last time in 2021. We say, let's go championship racing at Texas. Green flag in the air. DeYoung gets the lead to turn number one. It is he and Keegan Leahy clear for the first time as we wind them up to speed through the gears and out of turn two.
Pretty organized up front, a little bit of movement in the back of the pack. We talk about Texas, it's very different from one end to the other. This, the higher banked end, much more grip, much higher speeds in the middle of the corner, almost wide open throttle versus now the turns 1 and 2 end of the racetrack. Much flatter, handling much more important.
A couple of drivers nearly in the grass on the opening lap of this race. DeYoung leads lap number one. You'll notice the color coding. You see Bobby Zelensky in red at the top of your screen. The drivers in red are your championship four drivers. You'll also see them at the top as we monitor their position over the course of the race. The drivers in blue are the relegation drivers, and you can take a live look in at that relegation battle left-hand side of your screen. So we will be tracking with all of that all night long. Who's in, who's out, who's leading the championship, and who's not. Right now, your championship four run 1, 2, 9, and 28. As Clampett's got some work to do in the mid-pack, you see Alfala and some others. You talk about this mid-pack area, Steve. You talk about luck, right, with Clampett trying to get through all of this. It's certainly a lot more messy back here than it is inside of the top 10.
It's luck, but you make your own luck. Qualifying is what put Logan Clampett back here. It wasn't a random draw, so now he has to stay patient and find his way through here. You see it's too wide. I mean, there's nowhere to go. As you see to the bottom of the racetrack, he's going to make a pretty aggressive move. 3 wide that turns into 2 wide very quickly. It all worked out, but those are the types of moves he's going to have to make, but they are nerve-wracking.
Every move is that much more consequential as you ride on board with the driver now out of Concord, North Carolina, originally out of Trabuco Canyon, California, the 97 car in line. And I mentioned he had the worst average starting spot of all these championship four on these 1.5-mile racetracks. As you take a look on board with him, and you may be thinking, well, wait a minute. Didn't he win at Atlanta? He did. Started 7th in that race, took home a checkered flag. So it's not that Logan Clampett cannot get the job done here on these intermediates. It's just that they are not his strong suit, and working from a disadvantage is going to prove to be a challenge. He's alongside the 4-time champion in Ray Alfala on his bottom. It's a battle for 25th and 26th, so he is making up positions early. But, I mean, how about Mitchell DeYoung, Steve? I mentioned that qualifying stat. 3rd on qualifying at Homestead, 2nd in Vegas, pole in Atlanta, 2nd at Kansas, 2nd in Charlotte, and a pole here tonight. This man is bad fast at tracks like this.
Well, and Mitchell DeYoung may be new to the series, but he's not new to iRacing and esports in general. When he entered this series, there was a lot of conversation in the ownership level, a lot between myself and Denny Hamlin on who could land Mitchell DeYoung. We knew he was going to have pace, perhaps not this much, or maybe we didn't predict this much, but it's been impressive because he's currently outrunning his teammate. This man, Keegan Leahy, who has consistently, year in and year out, proven his worth behind the wheel, always finds a way to end up near the front.
The lone Canadian in the field, the 27-year-old out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, was 2nd in 2019. We all remember that thrilling finish at Homestead between he and Zach Novak. And then, of course, Bobby Zelensky, who was able to lock himself into this race earlier than anybody else. Your Latardi sports driver, Steve, got the win at Darlington. He didn't need a prep for Bristol. He didn't need a prep for Talladega. He has known the objective for the better part of a month now and finds himself in the top 10 pretty good early. When you look at what Zelensky has done on these races so far this year, it's been hit or miss. He's got 2 finishes inside of the top 15, a 12th at Vegas and a 14th at Atlanta, but all other 3 were outside of the top 30. So seems to be feast or famine for Zelensky on these intermediate tracks.
Yeah, a lot of work put in over the offseason to bring Zelensky into the Letard Esport camp, bring VRS on as a partner. I mean, that is a great combination. He's so good in this series. He's proven it just a year ago, kind of heartbreaking that championship race. And really, that was the driver we had circled to bring him on board and try to strengthen our campaign, and it worked. Here he is once again with a shot for the championship.
And we talk about, all these guys having a runner-up in a championship, right? It was Leahy who finished second in the championship in 2019. It was Clampett who was second in 2017. But Bobby Zelensky finished second back in 2020. He's also finished third in the championship 2 times, so he is looking to get over the hump. You can see a little bit of a different look on Chris Shearburn's entry. That's the second of those Letart Esports Chevrolets, and obviously the pink representation for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Chevrolet is proud to partner with the American Cancer Society as part of the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer program. Chevrolet has been a proud sponsor of Making Strides for more than 11 years, raising more than $15 million to date to support breast cancer research, patient programs, and services. Who do you drive for? Well, you could make your post on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok and use the hashtag WeDrive4, that's F-O-R, WeDrive4, during October, and Chevrolet will donate $5 towards the fight against breast cancer, up to $110,000. They'll also contribute $5 for every tweet, Instagram post, and TikTok post using that hashtag, and General Motors will match donations made to the American Cancer Society through Tilde on TikTok, up to $110,000. You can do this on TikTok using the donation sticker. So awesome to see Chevrolet and GM partnering for such a great program, and you'll see a couple of different cars in pink this afternoon representing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Of course, this is the last race of the championship. But as you heard on Countdown to Green, it's the start of another battle, right? For drivers who are going to want to race their way back in next year and more. So to keep up to date with everything on the offseason, from the schedule, the standings, and how to qualify for this series one day, you can find all of that information at iRacing.com/eNASCAR. And if you want to get in on the fun with iRacing, where every day is race day, you can start your iRacing career by logging on to iRacing.com today. We're taking a look at Corey Vincent. Let's hop behind the wheel at virtual Texas Motor Speedway with our Coca-Cola onboard camera.
Riding on board with Corey Vincent, Team Dillon Esports, and that Coca-Cola camera, and I love the patience behind the wheel. You'll notice as he goes down into the corner, he works a little bit lower than the car in front of him, trying to keep some of that air on that left front fender. If you follow dead on the tire tracks, you're going to get aero tight, just like in the real world. But here we go. Now the car in front of him goes to the bottom. He still takes his normal arc in, gets all the way to the white line. Now he's going to have some patience and decision time off the corner. Is he going to run high or going to run low? Looks like he's going to run high and try to take the position.
Yeah, Corey Vincent, a perennial top 10 guy in the points in this series, and in a pretty good spot tonight to defend his spot in the championship headed into 2022. You can see Zelensky side by side with Michael Conti. So Zelensky trying to make up some positions here in a battle for P7. But let's bring back in our Grand Marshal to the conversation. And I had to pull out the stat that he was the inaugural winner in this series some 12 years ago. Just looking at it again, the date back then was February 9th of 2010 when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the first ever race of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Dale, appreciate you being a part of the show tonight. And I also introduced you as the executive director at iRacing. So just tell us a little bit more about how that came about.
Really, ever since I heard about iRacing, I begged to get on the beta and got a chance to get on beta. And I joined this group of guys, and they're spending every night of the week racing at VIR with the Skip Barber car, which was the only track and the only car that they had in development at the time. And basically, that's kind of where it started. Everybody in the sim world is excited about the next big thing, excited about the next project, the next sim that's getting built. And there was a big void that was left by NR 2003. And so iRacing was kind of going to be the next thing. It was the same guys that had developed all the Papyrus platforms and all the Papyrus sims that we enjoyed for so many years. So there's a lot of great expectations, but it's just been a long journey, and I've been trying to support iRacing as much as I can to try to help the motorsports industry and the connections that I have understand really how great this sim is and how much of an asset each one can be for the other. So, and we've really gotten to that point now where obviously, where motorsports looks at iRacing as an asset, as a tool for drivers and as a way to market. And so that's really been a cool thing to see. Forever, iRacing was trying its best to attach to manufacturers and licensees and racetracks and try to convince these people to be a part of the program, to be a part of the future of iRacing. And it's getting a lot easier these days because everybody wants to be a part of it, and everybody sees the growth, and everybody sees it as a great way to kind of connect to hardcore motorsports fans. And so it's been fun, and and my role really hasn't changed since the very first day. I just continue to try to create relationships and partnerships and be a sounding board for iRacing when we go into areas where there's a group of people or an entity or a manufacturer or a licensee that needs an education on what iRacing is. I'm the guy that can help do that. There's a lot of other things that I like to do to help iRacing develop the product, because I'm a customer and I want the product to be great, just like every other customer. And so I have some good access and connections to data and information that may be difficult to attain, or maybe just kind of make that process a little easier on how iRacing can attain the information they need to be able to put a great vehicle on the racetrack. And that's been a lot of fun too, because you get to play the role of a staff member like yourself or somebody working in the office that develops something, and then they see the community react in a positive way. That's a lot of fun for me. So I get to do that on a smaller scale. But so it's been great. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad to be officially part of the family. I've kind of been this friend of the family for a long time, and now it's great to be brought in and really feel like I'm a piece of the puzzle.
I think it's fitting as well, given your history with the series as well, that the guys that drive for you are in the top 5 each on starts with Michael Conti and Brad Davies. I got to wonder, Steve calling the races with me, he's your booth buddy. Is there any contention? Do you give him a little bit grief of that battle between Junior Motorsports and Latardi Sports on track?
I'm pretty shocked. I know Steve and how he runs his. I know Steve and how he runs his team, and I'm not surprised because of the driver. I know the driver really well, but I'm surprised that he's having the success that he's had this year. He's had an awesome year, and I like it because I go to work on the weekends, and Steve's wanting to talk iRacing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll talk some iRacing with you. So he's gotten hooked. He's definitely addicted and enjoying himself in this series as an owner.
Appreciate the time, Dale. We'll let you get out of here, but thanks for being a part of tonight's broadcast, and looking forward to seeing how your involvement with iRacing continues to progress into the future. Steve, I'll go right back to you on this one. I think the quote I take away from that is he was surprised at your success.
I didn't really know how to take that. It was kind of a dig. It hurt a little bit, but I do know what he means. Listen, iRacing is the #1 simulation racing out there. It's the closest thing to the real world or everything we have at our fingertips. And I will say the same sort of preparation and organization. You'll see a battle here between Conti and the 8, speaking of junior motorsports, and the 83 of Zielinski. And oh man, Zielinski's kind of pinned in right here. But we're building this organization, and Bobby Zielinski was a big part of it. When he came on this year, he brought so much pace and so much work behind the scenes. And I love having Chris Sherburne on the team as well. He's kind of the old school, one of the originals, and it's fun to have him. Dale talks about those early days of Papyrus Racing. Well, Sherburne was one of those drivers that he battled against, so it only seemed right to give him a home at Letard Esports, and he is not disappointed at all with some great success.
Well, we're watching this battle, and we're obviously monitoring the championship at the top of your screen. Left-hand side, you can see that live point situation for the relegation bubble. Big names in the mix. We talked about some past series champions. That is the plus-minus as they sit right now, Tim, 31 laps through.
And one thing to look at on those points, Garrett Lowe has had an incident already. He's been out of the session for a little while, come back. He's 6 laps down right now. So he is trying to do what he can right now to keep at least that 5-point margin that he has on the rest to lock in to the top 20. You guys were talking about Michael Conti and with his team owner, Dale Jr., and Conti is confident in his race car. He believes he has something on the long run that can win this thing. And speaking about long run, his roommate, Logan Clampett, has been carving his way through the field. Worst qualifying effort of the season, has worked his way up into position number 13. But the downside to this, Evan, his tires, quote unquote, are wore out, and it feels like they're on shreds as he continues to work his way through the field. But what an effort early in this one.
Yeah, he knows that he has to dig himself out of this hole, and he has done it so far. He is the biggest mover on the racetrack, plus 18 positions. And at the top, we're just going to let you know where those championship 4 are all night long, right? So first is DeYoung, second is Leahy, Zielinski still at 8th, and Clampett continuing to charge forward up to 13th position. Clearly not one of the drivers concerned about saving anything right now, Steve, and I wonder if, maybe that would have been the game plan if he was a top 10 car in Q, but simply based on the fact that he started so far back, that 97 team has had to go on the offensive, and they are about to crack the top 10. So that's pretty incredible to watch as we pick up the battle for second. A bunch of former playoff cars are stacked up behind Keegan Leahy and giving him a little bit of pressure there for second, as Mitchell DeYoung's been able to open up about a 0.6 of a second lead, leading all the laps thus far.
Yeah, there's a little gap behind DeYoung, but really from Leahy on back, they're stacked up. And that's really, I think, what's got Zielinski bottlenecked up. In front of Zielinski, you see Casey Curran, Ryan Luza, Wilson, Vicente Salas, Graham Bolin, all right here. It's that risk versus reward. They love to jump to the outside, try to get on that right rear quarter panel and make a path. As we see currently, Salas climbs the hill, but instead comes right back in the tire tracks of Graham Bolin.
Bolin, somebody else who had quite the end to his season. Of course, we talked about that incredible performance he had at Watkins Glen to get himself in to a championship picture. He's right in the mix here as well. Steven Wilson just a step back in the Facetal Ford. The driver out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa for Roush Fedway Gaming is up 5 positions, started 10th, P5 at the moment. He, Salas, and Bolin have all been gaining at the expense of guys like Luza, Kerwin, and Conti, who have all dropped a couple of positions from early in this race. But, I mean, Keegan Leahy really does not want to let these cars by. So I know we're only 37 laps in of 167, but This is pretty consequential stuff in the battle for P2 on back. I see an X-Set duo just a little bit further on down the road with Ryan Luza and Casey Kerwin. They're in the mix as well. X-Set, a top 5 team in the team championship headed into this season finale. So plenty of stuff up for grabs inside of the top 10 positions here. And you can see it is Kerwin underneath Luza in a battle for 6th at the moment, the first side-by-side bout on the racetrack. Now you see behind them Corey Vincent to the inside of Zelensky. Zelensky took P8 real early in this race, Steve, but he hasn't been able to get away, and here comes pressure. Conti is all over the back of him, pushing him down to turn 3.
Yeah, it's what I see out of Zelensky is I feel like he has a little bit better car, but he's not willing to risk it, to jump it to the outside and make that sort of move. So as he gets more conservative, it seems like he becomes attacked from behind. So this is the battle he's going to fight, and this is what happens when you qualify just inside that top 10, 39 laps complete. There's no reason to panic, but when you see these two cars side by side up front, this will be a good run for Zelensky right here. He turns to the bottom of the racetrack, but just nowhere to go, too wide in front of him.
Well, let's check back in, Tim, with Pit Road. How are things looking?
Well, to your point on the 83 guys, just came about 5 laps ago or so. He feels like that car is losing a little bit of speed, losing a little bit of ground on the longer run. So look for that to be fixed maybe on the first pit stop. But speaking of coming to the front, Logan Clampett has been on a mission. Let's take a listen to what he's had to say so far.
It's cool too because people are just letting me go whenever
Yeah.
I show the nose.
Some of these guys won't be as kind.
Yeah, as he's coming through the field, he's encountering some of that traffic, Evan, and as his spotter and as his crew has said, some of these may not be as nice to pass as you ride on board with that 97.
Well, that's something interesting, Steve, and I want to ask you in this because it's the same thing you guys see, right, with the Cup Series races on NBC, how the non-playoff guys interact with playoff competitors, and I feel like that is heightened so much more, especially tonight when it's the Championship 4.
Well, it's heightened, and I believe it shows mutual respect from the front to the back of the field. They're not just pulling over and letting them go, but if Logan does get, inside that rear bumper, breaks the rear bumper plane, they also don't race him. He's earned the right to race for this championship, and every driver in the field wants to be in Logan's position. They want to have a chance. We see it on Sundays on NBC. Drivers know what's on the line. Now, listen, we have some feuds. We have the Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick. We had Reddick getting into Byron, so it's no guarantees, but you definitely see the respect. But respect, one thing, racing's another, and it is a hornet's nest in front of the 83 right here. 3 wide in the middle, or at least 2 wide on the top. Nerve-wracking laps for Zelensky.
Yeah, big pickups for Keegan Leahy. Remember, they were all stacked up behind him in a battle for second. But I mentioned that Mitchell DeYoung has been a driver who has qualified well on these intermediates, but needs to work on the long-run pace, and Leahy has started to reel him in. So these drivers, Bolin, Salas, both on boards on the left-hand side of your screen, this is now the battle to watch, and they're a little bit ahead of the chaos as it simmered down in the last trip around the racetrack. There was about 3 sets of 2 wide inside of the top 8 last time around. This time they seem to be more in line, and the action's just kind of tailed outside of the top 10, but just something to watch. We talked about the fuel number. In theory, about 2/3 of the way through a green flag run here. What is going to happen as these, positions pick up and fall off? And talking about pick it up, Bobby Zelensky picks up a position. He's up to 7th, but Logan Clampett is now in 9th. He is plus 22 spots, and he is within 4 car lengths of Bobby Zelensky. What a drive for the 97 Chevrolet, Steve. I asked earlier today on Twitter who everybody thought was going to be the champion, and a lot of votes came in for Logan Clampett. He was leading that poll on Twitter for much of the afternoon, and he has got a lot of speed in this race car.
Well, we see the focus on the 2 drivers' faces on the left-hand side of your screen, but when we ride on board with Clampett, it's clear to me his car is just working really, really well. He can go to the bottom of the racetrack. Now you see him up a lane. He's going to work a little bit of a diamond, try to get that momentum on corner exit, little wiping the sweat off the brow for Logan Clampett. And this is where you see turns to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 1. That shallow straight entry will give him the inside position on Ryan Luza in the 4. You see Luza giving him a lot of room on corner exit.
maybe not happy that he stayed with him side by side there off of the corner. One thing I'm noticing, looking at the camera, Steve, is Bobby looks exactly how he always looks. Logan looks super intense, I think more than normally when we take a look at him.
Yeah, I mean, Logan is definitely focused and dialed in. And Zelensky, I don't know if he ever changes. I imagine he looks just like that when he's practicing as well. That's a pretty standard look for Bobby Zelensky.
Locked in, using that open wheel, wheel setup that we've talked about several times, the pros and cons of using that on ovals and on road courses, and how on the sim you can customize the hardware of your sim setup at home to whatever you want. And that is something that Bobby Zelensky has been true to for this entire season. Let's see as Clampett closes back in on the Foraloosa if he can do anything. I mentioned, of course, that none of the drivers in the Championship 4 have a title in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and none of them have won a race here at Texas either. Well, Ryan Lewis is a two-time Texas winner from 2018 and 19. You got Michael Conti, who Clampett just got around. He was the race winner here in 2020, so these guys are keeping pace with the drivers who have historically been very good at this racetrack.
Oh, you see tight racing right there from Clampett as he works to the inside. Oh man, is he gonna have the position? We've seen this before. Ryan Loser raced him off the corner last time. He races him off the corner again, but this time Clampett stays on the inside. Nope, back in line.
Has to reset and try again. Looks like the 97 struggling to complete that pass on the bottom. This time by, we'll be working lap number 50 at Texas, and a decision on pit strategy is looming. You're watching the Championship 4 finale of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
And back live for iRacing's virtual Texas Motor Speedway coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By DoorDash, proud sponsor of 2311 Racing. And by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Your race leaders are working lap number 54 of 167 in tonight's Texas 250, the 18th and final round of this 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Your Championship 4 drivers, DeYoung, Leahy, Clampett, and Zelensky, running 1, 2, 8, and 9 at the moment. But a pit strategy decision is imminent, and I'm already hearing drivers on the radio, Steve, saying that they're going to be coming in. Garrett Maines will be pitting this lap, but I think for the majority of the field, you're looking to split this race into thirds, right? So two-stop strategy means you're probably on pit road right at about lap 60.
I agree. I think we're only about 3 or 4 laps away from pit stops, and that's what's going to jumble this up. Relatively organized, other than the great drive by Clampett all the way up into the 7th position. Zelensky, though, following back to 12th. You wonder if he's not going to be one of the first cars to pit road to try to make adjustments.
He's sliding on the back end of this one, and the driver who has had the best view all night long is the guy up front, Mitchell DeYoung. Let's ride with a DoorDash onboard camera.
All right, we mentioned it. Zelensky was the lowest of the 4 championship cars. I think that really necessitated a pit stop and a pit stop on the early side. So here he is coming to pit road, make some adjustments, try to figure out. The car looked good early on the run, but definitely slowed down too much. The question now, though, is how much longer will DeYoung, Leahy, and Clampett wait? And there's your answer. Team 2311 on pit road together.
Oh, and they were awfully tight, too, getting down to pit road speed. Mitchell DeYoung with a 4-tire slide, slowing that car down to 45 miles an hour. So 2311 was in sync with one another. Logan Clampett now the lone championship 4 car to stay out. Right as I say that, he goes up over the open radio channel and says that he will be pitting this time. So in the process of 3 laps, all 4 of your championship cars will be in. You can see your race leaders are in right now. Wilson, Kerwin, Luza, Clampett, Conti, all in. It's a clean entry for the 97.
As they continue to pit other cars on the racetrack, I was kind of watching the pit times to see how consistent they were. Seemed like Bobby Zelensky with a pretty decent pit stop. Mitchell DeYoung matched it. Keegan Leahy, maybe a little bit quicker of the 3.
And it's just tense. Fastest pit stop, I have Zelensky to 14.6, but he actually had the longest time on pit road total at 38.6. The fastest in that category would have been Leahy, only spending 38.2 seconds on pit road. But when you're all in a couple of tenths, I would consider that mission accomplished, Steve. It's not like somebody was 1 or 2 seconds slower. Nobody bombed it. Nobody missed the entry. Nobody missed their box. And I'd say that's mission accomplished for the first cycle of pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was looking for, is a big outlier, and there just wasn't one. These guys, I'll be honest, they make it look so easy. It is so difficult to come off the banking onto the apron, get down to pit road speed, and not give up time. This is why these are the best in the world. They know what they're doing in these eNASCAR stock cars, and they make it look much easier than it really is.
Good to know as well, there's other drivers in the mix for this race win. Your championship 4 drivers all cycle behind the 8 drivers who have yet to come down to the pit lane. But there's not only money on the line for the championship, there's money on the line for the race win here tonight as well. If you could go to victory lane here tonight at Virtual Texas, you walk away with $500, $300 up for second, $200 up for third. That prize money available on a weekly basis in this series. All 4 of your championship 4 drivers already have made more than $1,000 apiece in race purse payouts here in 2021. But looks like Logan Clampett loses a little bit of ground. He was right behind Zelensky when they came down pit road, and all those red championship 4 drivers pinned at the top. Clampett all of a sudden now sees 7 back from Zelensky.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the time on pit road was very consistent, so it could be the out lap, the in lap, could be the traffic in which he was able to blend back on the racetrack. But you see him right here. The car doesn't look bad, but it only takes 1 car at the wrong position to cost yourself time, and that's what happened to Logan Clampett. And that turned into basically the entire back straightaway behind Zelensky and 7 cars on the racetrack.
Vicente Salas leading some laps at the moment. He's a race winner from earlier this season. Became the first driver to ever lead every single lap at an oval race when he dominated at Richmond. That was just his 6th career start. Talk about a great performance for a rookie. He's stretching things, and you take a look at the left-hand side of your screen. Now, these numbers will change because we're in the middle of a pit cycle, but right now a tie with Maines and Novak, and now it flips 1 point in Novak's favor for 20th and 21st. That's the difference between hanging out for the offseason or fighting for your life through that 7-round eNASCAR Road to Pro Contender iRacing Series. Salas does pit for the race lead, so does Jake Nichols. Ray Alfala will cycle through to the race lead. For the moment, he's a driver in that battle to stay in this championship. So there's so much going on, the battle for the title, the battle for the relegation, as we are starting to close in on halfway home from Texas. Alfala is going to be coming, Tim, this next time.
And Mitchell DeYoung was really happy with his pit stop, Evan. Took a slight spring adjustment on that race car, but as we've seen all night long, that car looks into the racetrack and it looks good. The only thing he said after the pit stop is, with all these drivers coming back and forth and pitting and us trying to pass them, this is the craziest it's been all season. His crew chief responded, "It is what it is, keep digging."
I find it interesting. It's good for DeYoung because he cycles through as the net leader. That's exactly what he wants, Steve. But the guy behind him has got exactly what he's working with, right? I mean, those are team cars, not to mention you could kind of toss Bobby into the conversation with some technical alliances as well. So it's got to be so incredibly difficult. We talk about the margins, right? How hard it is to differentiate yourself when you're at this level of competition. It's got to be that much harder when the guys you're racing for this championship against have got the same stuff you've got. They have all the same intel and are guys that you're quite close with.
Yeah, it really comes down to what you do with the opportunity. And right now, I think Keegan Leahy sees the opportunity a little quicker than Mr. DeYoung. He's going to try to take over what will be the race lead if it cycles around. As you see, the 97 of Clampett exactly where he doesn't want to be, and that is in heavy traffic. The big winner on that pit cycle, and that's probably due to the early pit stop, Bobby Zalinski. He was outside the top 10, now running in the 5th position, as you see on the top of your screen. The top line, all the red drivers, those are your playoff drivers. Below that, the running order. The red drivers are playoff drivers. The blue drivers are those drivers battling for relegation. Now that it's cycled around, it's Mitchell DeYoung, 0.2 of a second over Keegan Leahy, though. The battle for the lead is close as Clampett is in heavy traffic.
And Clampett's going to go underneath. The 4-car pit cycle has been completed, and DeYoung will cycle back to the race lead. So as we work into the middle portion of this Texas 250 for one final time this year, let's go iRacing full throttle at No Limits, Texas. That is what it looks like, full throttle here from Texas Motor Speedway, and through all of that, the championship picture continues to evolve. But DeYoung was able to shake off a bit of a challenge coming from Keegan Leahy. They came after that pit cycle. The difference between those two, as you can see, about 4 to 5 car lengths right now, but they are 2.4 seconds ahead of everybody else. And then behind them, a battle for third in the title fight. Clampett on the inside, Zelensky's on the outside, side by side for 7th position. And Clampett's trying to break through here, but Bobby not going to roll over, fights with him off the corner.
Yeah, Bobby Zelensky on the high side, Clampett on the low side. Now Michael Conti will join the bottom of the racetrack on that number 8 out of the Junior Motorsports campaign. Zelensky pitted a little bit earlier. Looked like he made improvements to his car, but once again it falls off as tires age. On the opposite side, the two 2311 cars, as you mentioned, have widened that gap, and Mitchell DeYoung did a nice job of holding off Leahy, who I believe had more speed on new tires.
Here's the onboard look. Clampett top left, Zelensky bottom left, and the battle on your right-hand side. A past Texas winner and a past champion in Michael Conti sits right there in line, and he opts to go to the inside with his teammate. So that camera shot kind of shows all 3 of these guys, because Michael Conti's just out of frame. In the top right of Clampett's webcam, you can see a little bit of the rig of Michael Conti. Conti opted to go to the bottom, and it has allowed the 97 of Clampett to clear Bobby Zelensky. So from 31st to 7th, Logan Clampett, for the first time tonight, is not last in the running order, as he is now going to try to make up some time. And the positions are one thing, right, Steve? It's good to get up to 7th, but he's still 4 seconds off of the race leader. If he started up front, probably one of the fastest cars on track right now, but now it's a different challenge for him. He doesn't have to pass race cars. He has to make up time on the fastest cars in the field, as they have a little bit of clean air until they get up to that quartet up the road of Wilson, Kerwin, Bolin, and Duvall.
He has to make up time, and he also has to understand he's going to need a little help. 80 laps complete of 167 laps. We're still just a little bit short of halfway. There's not going to be any sort of guaranteed yellow, but I think Logan Clampett has to believe his best chance is at least a yellow. Kind of take a deep breath, stack the field back up, and then attack the front 2 from there. Zelensky just continues to look like he's fighting the handling of his race car, mostly on corner exit. Looks like it's a little bit free from the middle of the corner off. He's just really unable to keep the power down and commit to the steering wheel like he would want, and I think that's what is hurting him.
When we talk about the distance that those top 2 have, and take a look at your virtual drone cam, and this is overlooking the battle for third. That's Wilson who's got it, Kerwin trailing him, and then way up the road is DeYoung and Leahy. Now, I mentioned it was an advantage of about 2.4 seconds. It's actually trickled down closer to 2 flat. Last lap, Wilson ran a 31.064. It was a 31.146 for DeYoung at the front of the field. So keep that in mind. Maybe the drivers in 3rd and 4th, keeping them honest at the front of the field. But, I mean, certainly the best advantage we've seen all night, and kudos to the 2311 cars for being perfect on the pit cycle. Good to see Wilson sporting some different colors on that Facet-All Ford for Roush Fenway Gaming. We talked about that. You'll see that on a couple of cars tonight in observance of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Kerwin in the mix, Bolin, Duvall. I mean, a lot of the same characters that we saw in the first half of the race. You want to mention, Steve, one guy we haven't talked a ton about is Jimmy Mullis. He started 34th. He's up to 13th. That's a big driver, who's trying to get into the mix here and try to make up for a poor Q effort. So just a couple of drivers we're watching making some progress.
Yeah, right behind Mullis, Nick Ottinger jumps right out. A driver we have seen race for these championships before and has a lot of speed. Surprisingly, remember, 83 green flag laps. So all these positions, anywhere on the track that you have gained or lost positions, it's all happened either under green or under the pit cycle. No pit strategy, no cautions to stack the field back up.
We'll just watch it as all of this continues to play out. And, we answered our first question. Was anybody going to go on a one-stop strategy? The answer for that was no. They weren't able to get to the 80s Thought that was a far cry. Everybody decided to go for the two-stop strategy, and now we race to 83 laps to go, meaning we're about 20 laps away from pit stops. Let's bring Dale Jr. back into the broadcast. Dale, thanks for sticking around, and I want to talk some more iRacing with you. In the commercial that you voice over, it says doesn't matter what your favorite series is, what car you want to drive. With iRacing, every day is race day. So I got to ask you, of all the options we have on the iRacing platform, what's your favorite car in the sim?
There's two cars on the service that I really are enjoying and have been enjoying over the last probably year and a half to 2 years, and that's the Street Stock and the 1987 series. So I race in a league with some friends with the Street Stock car, and that's been a lot of fun. And that car has been enjoyable because it continues, like all of the products and all of the software on the service, it's always sort of updating, changing, tweaked, massaged, and so it's never just the same thing over and over and over. Even if you're racing the same car at the same tracks week after week, the sim continues to be updated and improved, and whether it's a tire model or the car physics or whatever, it's always kind of this nice new thing, and has a new feel to it. So I like that. It's almost as dynamic as real life racing, as far as how tracks age and change. Well, this service does that as well. And so I enjoy the Street Stocks a lot. The 87 cars, we just recently had an update on those that I had a little bit of involvement in. And so I was really happy with how that turned out. I think we improved the car and improved the experience for the customer so that they are getting a more realistic experience, something a little closer to what those cars would truly feel like. And I think over time, as we hone in on the setups that we're actually providing, because it's a fixed setup series on the official side of the service. I think as we hone in on the setups and continue to improve them, that's just going to get better and better. And we also have a new manufacturer to include in the 87 cars coming down the road. So that's going to be great. That speaks to what I was mentioning earlier, where I think we need to have more variety on the racetrack when you're out there racing, and in the 87 cars to add more manufacturers to that series, I think would add to the realism and the immersion and the experience for the customer. And I'm pushing to get some of that going on in that series.
Well, my ears perked up when you're talking about those 87 cars, but keeping it topical and talking about the championship race here at Texas. You got your first career NASCAR Cup Series win right here in Fort Worth. You beat out your now NBC colleague Jeff Burton for that race win back in 2000. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to race here at the Texas Motor Speedway.
Texas is a really difficult racetrack, and both ends of the track are completely different, and you have to be really patient. You can overdrive the car, especially down in turn 1 and 2. You have so much throttle in turn 3 and 4, and you get so comfortable down there. You really kind of sometimes forget how much work you need to do at the other end of the racetrack, and how much patience you have to have entering the corner and keeping the car on the bottom, and then getting back to the gas, and be able to get up off of turn 2. Without allowing the guys around you to get runs on you and take the preferred line into turn 3. So it's a really, really challenging track. And the guy that has that mental toughness and can stay on task and hit turn 1 and 2 lap after lap the right way, and max out, that corner, that's the guy that's going to have the most success. And you just got to, stay patient. It's really easy to get impatient. It's so hard to pass because of the way the track's laid out. It really can make you impatient. You might make moves that maybe you don't need to be making, and it puts you in a bad situation, or put your opponent in a bad situation. So it's a fun racetrack though. I think the guys probably enjoy it. I certainly enjoyed it when we had the Pro Invitational, but I know that turn 1 and 2 really challenging, really tricky to be patient and get down in that corner and keep the car on the bottom and get through there the right way.
In tonight's race, an ultimate test of patience. as it has been green all the way. Dale, thanks again for stopping in. We'll chat with you, I think, a little bit later on in this race with 74 laps to go, but a big swing in the championship, Steve. New race leader Keegan Leahy, the 32 car, has passed his teammate. He's gone to the top of the board. How about that, Tim?
Evan, it's funny how this run has worked. When he came off pit road, he was reporting the car was way too tight. He would get up to Mitchell DeYoung, that dirty air, that little air bubble, couldn't make the move on the 23, and then he's been seeing with the crew how fast the 97 car is of Logan Clampitt. He says, if I have to go, I have to go now, which is the move you just saw. He feels like he's faster than Logan Clampitt. His teammate Mitchell DeYoung and the rest of the field, the VRS number 32, to the lead. We'll see how long he can hold it.
We'll see how long he can hang on for this one as we take a look at these top two drivers. Leahy DeYoung, 1.7 seconds ahead of Wilson and company. There's a look at Logan Clampitt in the running order. He is up to position number 4, and he continues on his charge. So let's ride on board with him with the play seat on board camera. Well, the next big pass is going to be for Steven Wilson, Steve, and at that point he'll be unobstructed to try to get to those top two. I was going to say that Zelensky has started to slip, but he really hasn't, right? He's in P8. That's where Bobby's been all night long, but, I mean, Logan and Clampitt just continues to have, I think, the best car on track.
Well, we heard Tim report Keegan Leahy was concerned about the 97 speed, and I think it is an accurate concern. I believe the 97 clean air to clean air has more pace than the 2311 cars, or at least they did with Mitchell DeYoung and the 23 leading. Now that the 32 has taken the lead, he's a half a tenth quicker. He stretched it to 0.4 of a second, and he has been a touch faster than the 97. Now, I believe the 97 is being held up by this car right here, Steven Wilson. We'll see if Logan Clampitt can find his way by him. But let's remember, with 69 laps to go, how poor it was the last pit cycle for Logan Clampitt. Logan is going to have to do a better job through the pit cycle if he wants to have a chance to win this race.
Yeah, he's doing this good in spite of the fact that he didn't have a great pit cycle, and he's going to have to get around Steven Wilson, but Steven is not going to be an easy guy to get around. He's locked into this championship for 2022 and has been one of the best drivers not to win a race this year. He's got 8 top 10s. That's more than most of the guys who made the playoffs. He's got 5 top 5s this year. That's better than most of the cars that made the playoffs. So really a great campaign for Steven Wilson, the driver out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Started this race 10th. He's driven his way up to 3rd and is balanced out at about 1.8 seconds off of the Leahy and DeYoung battle, and is staying out of arm's reach of Logan and Clampitt at the moment. The 97 still in 4th position. Clampitt may actually have to deal with a counterpunch by Bolin if Bolin wants to get up and into the mix. But, you know, this is the point that I made watching Mitchell DeYoung. You know, he has a couple of wins in this rookie tenure, Steve, but they're all road course wins, right? And that's kind of how he locked himself in. One at COTA and one at Road America. But I talked about how good he was in qualifying, right? Always in the top 3, 6 for 6, counting tonight on the intermediates. But his finishes hadn't always been there. He doesn't have a single top 10 finish on an intermediate track this year. But the last time we saw him on an oval like this was Charlotte back in May. So it's been a while. And one thing that he has worked on all season long has been that race pace. But I mean, what Keegan Leahy is doing has got to make Mitchell nervous, despite that the 23 is having his best career performance on an oval.
Well, he's having his best career performance, but it's not good enough currently. He wants to be a champion, and Keegan Leahy has a little bit more pace. I really think when you look at Mitchell DeYoung and his mile-and-a-half kind of skill sets, it's not a pace issue. It's not even really a pace issue in the race. It comes down to those shorter runs in the end when it's 2 and 3 wide in the restart area. That's, I think, where it becomes a little bit more hectic for Mitchell DeYoung.
65 laps to go from Texas. We'll step aside, and when we come back, the final pit sequence is on the horizon. Keegan Leahy has taken a lead in the battle for the championship, seeking redemption for a runner-up finish in 2019. Stick with us on the iRacing Esports Network.
Fitness ready. We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
You're invited on a crisscrossing journey across the world of speed, setting it ablaze. We're underway. With full throttle insanity.
Oh, we got trouble on the front straightaway. Oh, get moved, bud.
Where will it end? Who will rip up Phoenix with donuts and joy?
Man, that was wild.
Time will tell. But for now, ride with me. The NASCAR playoffs continue at Texas.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
And back live for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway coverage of tonight's race, as always, brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Logitech G and the Logitech G923, the official wheel and pedal of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're inside of 60 laps to go in the Texas 250, and happy that you're with us at eNASCAR.com/live. Alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Steve Letarte. Tim Terry's on pit road with us, and it is a green flag race that has hit lap number 110. And now the pit cycle to maybe determine it all, Steve. A couple of drivers mid-pack have already hit pit road. The question is, what happens with our championship 4 as they run right now 1, 2, 4, and 11 with Keegan Leahy leading the way?
I think if you're Logan Clampett, you have to think maybe I can get to pit road one lap before both 23-11 cars, see if I can make adjustments, maybe try to close up some of that gap. I expect 55 to 56 laps to go, kind of be the sweet spot. If you're doing the math, that would be an even tire run. And then this could be it. You know, you can't be conservative getting on pit road, but if you have a mistake at this point in the race would end your championship hopes.
It all comes down to this. You need to stay perfect, and for the most part, our Championship 4 drivers have been able to stay out of trouble. Not the case for Nick Ottinger and Vicente Salas. Check this out. Ottinger going underneath the 55, or at least trying to, as they set up a move into the corner, and a bit of a checkup there with the 77. Vicente goes for a slide, and a great job recovering that Space Station Ford Mustang. A good save. And speaking of Nick Ottinger, let's ride with your 2020 Series champion as we take a look on the Logitech G onboard camera. Pit stops for Logan Clampett. What a slide as he locks him up coming to pit road. He is the second of your championship four to pit. Keegan Leahy gave up the race lead the lap prior to come down to the pit lane. So Keegan was working about a half a second advantage over Mitchell DeYoung, and notably, Steve, the 23 didn't immediately respond by coming to pit road the lap after. He will come in this time, though. Big pit stop for the 23. He also locks it up, but I think that's getting everything you can out of it.
It is, but you have to ask yourself if the 2 extra laps at a little bit slower speeds because of the older tires, will it cost Mitchell DeYoung time on the racetrack, or will it be an advantage? As the tires burn off, as they get longer into the run, will the 2-lap fresher tires be an advantage to the 23? The 83 of Bobby Zalenski still on the racetrack. I think at this point, the 83 is trying to find something to go his way, something different. He hasn't had a bad night, just not a championship night. Ran just inside the top 10 most of the night, as you see Keegan Leahy storming past to unlap himself.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, if he finishes 11th, which is where he was running before this pit cycle began, that would be his best finish on a 1.5-mile track all year. Beating P12 that he had a little bit earlier in the season at Las Vegas. But maybe he feels like since he was on the back foot here that he is going to need to do something different. Sticking with the status quo, has it worked thus far? He announces over the radio that 116 is his number. Here comes Bobby Zalenski to pit road. He is down safely. He will go for 4 tires and fuel, and the race lead will be handed off to Ray Alfalla. Only about a dozen cars still to pit. It's notable that Keegan Leahy is your net race leader in 11th position. Keep that in mind as all of this continues to cycle itself through.
You see the 97 right here of Logan Clampett. A little bit of traffic in front, trying to work that traffic. But I think when I look at the running order, he's actually found his way past one of the 2311 cars, Keegan Leahy.
He's been able to get through this, and we'll take a second look. Watch the replay. You're on board with Logan Clampett. Look on the left-hand side of the screen. There is Mitchell DeYoung, Steve. And I think we both had the same thought when Mitchell was coming to pit road, right? Did that 2-lap difference cost him? The guys on old tires are running about 2+ seconds slower than fresh tires. Clampett pitted a lap before Mitchell did, and that is where a pass has been made right now, Tim, for what is second in the championship.
You kind of hit the nail on the head on the strategy for the 83 of Bobby Zalenski. They were talking about it for about 10 laps coming down into pit road. They needed to do something different than the other 3. Running in 12th place, they were not winning the championship by going status quo, which is why they went long. Mitchell DeYoung in the 23 car had that spring adjustment on the last pit stop. They didn't like what it did to that car on the long run, so they reversed it. They also went down on the tape knowing that they could potentially be running in traffic, and that thing run a little bit hot, because there's been a few drivers out here tonight saying that they are running hot after they add the tape when it comes to the pit stop, including the 77 of Bob Bryan, who had to take it a little bit easy on that last run.
And haven't had any caution flag periods to cool these things down either. It has been non-stop action since the drop of the green flag some 120 laps ago. And you take a look at Clampett right now, he is net 3rd place. So that means he's 7th, but the top 4 cars have yet to pit. We're still waiting on Nathan Lyon, John Gorlinski, Derek Justice, and Anthony Burrows to come down pit road. So once they do, we will see him cycle through to the number 3 position. And this is the driver that he was stuck behind at the end of the last run, Steve. He got to Steven Wilson, but he wasn't able to break through. Keegan Leahy is 3 seconds ahead of these 2 cars. So if Logan Clampett wants to make something happen for a championship in these final 50 laps, he needs to get by this 17 2 laps ago. He needs to go.
Yeah, you can almost see the frustration out of Logan Clampett. He's looking high, looking low, moving around, almost showing that nose to the 17 of Steven Wilson, because this car, the 32 of Keegan Leahy, is kind of driving off into the sunset a little bit. I mean, look all the way at the top of the screen. Basically, the entire front stretch is his gap. And Logan Clampett knows that. He's pushing very hard to try to get by the Wilson machine.
And you can see Keegan just locked in. I referenced it earlier, that 2019 championship with Zach Novak, where they went door-to-door in the final corner. He squeezed Novak up to the wall, and you heard Keegan say it in the interview on Countdown to Green. I don't think I went that easy on him, right? I only gave him about 6 foot and an inch, and he used the 6 feet to make the pass the width of the race car. But a lot of people said, if I was racing for $100,000, I would have put him in the fence. Keegan Leahy is a clean driver, one of the fastest, and of course in his 4th campaign in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series is now trying to get that one extra spot and is in very good position with fuel to go the distance and with the biggest advantage for the race lead that anybody has had so far tonight as we continue to watch Clampett fight Wilson. Clampett is now pleading with Steven Wilson to let him go, and I think it's going to work.
Well, I will say Steven Wilson didn't make it easy. He put up a good fight, but at some point, I love this move. I think it's time to remove yourself from the situation. 44 laps to go. Let Logan Clampett go and try to run down the leader, who's currently in 3rd, but he's the leader of the race due to pit stops. Keegan Leahy, he should cycle to the lead.
Take a look at the last 3 laps compared to Keegan Leahy. Losing time behind Wilson now that he's in front in the green. So Clampett has a monumental task to make up about 2.8 seconds. But basically what he said to Steven Wilson over the radio was, Steven, let me go. I am the faster of the two of us, and you can draft on me. I will bring us up to Keegan, and then we can both fight. Remember, you don't necessarily have to win the season finale to be the champion. Last year, it wasn't the case. It was Chris Shearburn who won the finale at Homestead Miami Speedway, but it was evidently Nick Ottinger who took home the championship. So Clampett pleading to the 17, I've got the speed, let me take us up there and we can fight for it, and we will be closely monitoring those lap times, still waiting on Lyon and Gorlinski to pit, but even if they had a magic fuel cell, it wouldn't matter. Keegan Leahy is going to pass them anyways as he's starting to close in on those top 2.
And if you look at the top of the screen, Leahy 2nd, Clampett 3rd, Mitchell DeYoung 6th, and Bobby Zielinski all the way back at 20th. He ran long, trying to different strategy, and he does have fresher tires, but a lot of ground to make up with 41 to go.
And anything can still happen. Nathan Lyon will bow out, dive to pit road in the number 6 Ford, and he will crash on pit road. Nathan Lyon spins into the first pit stall. Fortunately, that is off of the track, so there will not be a caution flag. What a turn for Lyon, who had been a top 5 car earlier in this race, and will see a chance at a good finish to close out his campaign, fall to the wayside. He may be the first DNF. There are no drivers currently in the garage. 33 drivers are on the lead lap. There's a group of 6, 1 lap down, and Garrett Lowe, who we mentioned had issues earlier, is still 6 laps down in 40th. Here's the second look at what happened.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going a little bit too quick, has to use too much brake or an early downshift, loses the back end of the car, and around it comes.
And jumps out. He hits the escape button to take the tow to the pit lane, so he'll be held for a certain amount of time before he's allowed to fire back off. He is still in the race. He has not retired the car, so he may get back out there. But again, at this moment, 129 laps into this championship race, there have been 0 cars to retire. Now Keegan Leahy's working with a little bit of lap traffic with Ashton Crowder, who's running in 33rd position. Not the best night, in all honesty, for the Nutrient Ag Solutions Toyota of Ashton. Started 17th, but has slipped back into position number 33 and finds himself in front of the race leader. Not really a huge factor now, but remember I said 2.8 seconds. Logan Clampett is now within 2.0. He is closing in on the race leader as we ride on board with Mitchell DeYoung into 4th on the green flag run. Steve, this is the lowest we've seen Mitchell all night long.
Yeah, it just seems like the handling of the car has slowly gone away as we've run under the green flag conditions for the entire night. He's back to 4th, but he just doesn't have the pace. You know, that last lap of 30-50, which the leaders are a little bit quicker than that. You see the leaders off in the distance. I really look at Logan Clampett. Logan's speed is there. He continues to shrink the lead, now down to 1.8 seconds.
Logan Clampett has more experience than any other of the Championship 4 drivers in his 6th season of eNASCAR competition. Finished as a runner-up back in 2017, and a miscommunication there. Clampett over the radio telling the 16 to Gorlinski on fresh tires, go high, go high. He was going to move to give him the space, and there was a little bit of hesitation where the 16 started to go low. We'll pass him up top now. Just curious if that may have given Clampett a moment of hesitation. Looks like he doesn't lose any time on that lap, though, so I think all is okay, but that's how quickly miscommunication can put you in a tricky spot. We'll take a second look on the right-hand side of your screen at what happened. This whole time he's saying go high, 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 high. He'll pull low right as that 16 started to go low, Steve. That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, he was telling him to go high, but the 16, when he got there, he said, man, you haven't moved down, so I'll move down. Maybe I'm not understanding you correctly, and in the end, it worked out, but it was definitely an increase in heart rate for those moments. And you see right here the 97 of Clampett. You know, he worked his way past Wilson in that pink 17 right behind him, but just has not driven away. Now, these two have worked on Keegan Leahy. The lead now down to 1.65 seconds. So even though the 97 is in front of the 17, not pulling away from the 17, the 17's matching the lap times of Clampett, both running down the leader, Keegan Leahy.
Logan Clampett won on an intermediate racetrack very similar to this at the Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier this season. That one was back on March 16th. And as we pick up Mitchell DeYoung once more, Michael Conti, Steven Wilson have gotten ahead of him. This is a three-way battle for third, fourth, and fifth. And if you're just joining us late in this Texas finale, we are following several things tonight. The battle for the championship amongst the drivers highlighted in red on the scoring ticker at the top of your screen, and the drivers highlighted in blue battling for the relegation bubble to stay in this championship next year. And I alluded earlier about the battle amongst the teammates. Well, now we can actually see Michael Conti. He is in the background of Clampett's shot, but those are the teammates. Logan Clampett, the driver, originally out of California, but a newly resident as of the last couple of years in Concord, North Carolina, running with his teammate Michael Conti, both cars inside of the top four. And Clampett wants to bring a second eNASCAR championship to that house.
Well, he has a decent shot at it. His pace continues to improve. The lead down to 1.3 seconds. Michael Conti doing a nice job, not purposely doing anything, but as he runs in front of Mitchell DeYoung, it slows DeYoung down, or at least doesn't allow him to advance, takes a little pressure off the rear view mirror of the 97 of Clampett, and allows him to focus forward. But it's a solid 1/10 of a second per lap, every lap. The lead, 1.17 seconds. Keegan Leahy losing ground to Logan Clampett with 30 laps to go.
Significant ground. It is 2 to 3 tenths of a second every single lap in favor of Logan Clampett. Last lap ran a 39.60. It was a 31.209 for Keegan Leahy. Remember, Logan started this race in 31st position. He has not had any restarts to aid him. He has driven himself through the field on his own volition and is going to have to work around lapped car Chris Shearburn. That's the pink car immediately in the foreground. Behind is Clampett. This is a look off of the back. A race leader, Keegan Leahy. Now it is 9/10 of a second, coming to 28 laps to go. This is shaping up to be an incredible championship fight.
And what a drive by Logan Clampett. You just mentioned it. From deep in the field, so many opportunities to make mistakes, to misstep in traffic. He did nothing of the sort. He has been rock solid right away. We knew he had a good car as he moved through traffic, but here it has been through 2 green flag pit stops, the first in which he gave up more time to the leaders. But on the racetrack, the old-fashioned way, he has run down Keegan Leahy. That's the next car you see in front, less than 0.8 of a second apart.
Both drivers looking for a first career championship. Both drivers feel like they're the one that's deserving of it. Both of the drivers feel like that it's due to them, right? They paid their dues. They've been in this series for multiple years. Logan Clampett, the 21-year-old, the youngest of the championship four, trying to hold off the most senior, and Keegan Leahy, the 27-year-old. This time by, let's see, it was .744 last lap. It drops to .635. Logan Clampett is undeniably the fastest car on track. And we have a race-winning fight and a championship-determining fight, I think, about a half a dozen laps away or so, because Clampett's going to get there, Steve, but catching the 32 is only going to be one part of the problem. We talked about Clampett, and you heard some of his radio communications earlier in this race saying, oh, it's nice how these guys are letting me go, right? We talked about how he was talking to Steven Wilson on the radio, asked the 17 to get out of the way, and Wilson obliged so he could go and fight for this championship. Logan Clampett is not going to get that same treatment from Keegan Leahy.
He's not, but with lap traffic in front, we'll see if that allows the 97 any sort of hope. Tim.
And the main point that Evan was saying about that lap traffic, Logan was frustrated with that lap traffic, and John Gorlinski was one of those last pieces of traffic to get by, and John had just said there was no communication as to where the 97 wanted me to go. You saw on that onboard a couple laps ago, they got 3 or 4 lap cars ahead, so keep that in mind as we work forward in these final 24 laps. And oh, by the way, the 23 of Mitchell DeYoung, you wouldn't know that he's out of the championship battle or out of this battle right now when you're listening to their radio, because they think they have plenty of time to get up here too, and they think they have the pace to do it on the long run.
And if we start to see a fight for the race lead, they'll start to slow each other down. DeYoung is only 1.8 seconds off of the top position as Leahy has some traffic. There are less than 23 laps to go in this Texas finale for the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Alongside Steve Letarte, myself, Evan Pasoko on the call, reminding you if you want to get in on the action, there's several ways to do so. First, to keep up to date with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and the Road to Pro Contender Series, which will be kicking off next month. You can find all that information and more at iRacing.com/eNASCAR. And with iRacing, every day is race day. To start your sim racing career, go to iRacing.com for more information. So now Leahy clears a bit of lap traffic and puts the traffic in between he and Clampett. It's Zach Nichols, but Nichols knows not to be in effect. He will hold the outside. Might slow the 97 a bit, though. On corner exit, Steve, the 29's out of the way, but Clampett would have preferred to be able to go up high there off of the corner, and I don't think it's going to cost him a ton of time, but at this point, every 100th or 1000th of a second matters a lot.
Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong, but he also didn't do anything outside to do anything right or help him. But this is part of it. What I like is that they are allowing the leaders to have the bottom lane. They're not completely giving in, and in the end, it's up to Logan Clampett to find this last half a second. And don't look now, but that 17 of Steven Wilson will not go away. He is right off the rear bumper of the 97.
And to be fair, what was the pitch that Logan Clampett said? Let me pass, you can draft up on me, and we can get there. There was no agreement that Steven Wilson was not to fight if they got up there. So Steven Wilson wants to win this race just as bad as anybody else does. He is within striking distance, 0.8 of a second off of the race leader. Quick look to the live relegation points, left-hand side of your screen. Garrett Maines in by 1 single point. Jake Nichols out by 1 single point. We'll talk about that post-race as well. A lot to be determined with now 19 laps to go. He's got a clear shot, but it feels like the last 5 laps or so, this battle has balanced out at about 4/10 off. Is it the traffic, or was Keegan Leahy saving just a little bit for when it mattered the most?
Well, Keegan Leahy is no newcomer to these long-run style races. He knows how to save tire. He knows how to not panic. Although I will say, when you look on the left-hand side of your screen, Logan Clampett, he has had that focused stare all night long. But Keegan Leahy above, there's no smiles in that picture. It's focused. He knows what's on the line with 18 to go.
That's a big deep breath there for Keegan Leahy. He knows that a battle is coming. He holds at 0.4 of a second with 17 laps to go. We mentioned traffic. There's been more of it in the last 10 laps than what they've dealt with most of the night. There is one car up the road. That's Ashton Crowder. That's about it. I'm not sure if Leahy's going to deal with anybody else, Gorlinski and Justice, but there is no heavy lap traffic on the horizon. So that's good for the 32, right? Allows him to focus on running his line, holding off Logan Clampett. And again, they are very, very even. And I wonder if you get to the point where you're Logan Clampett, where you've been making up time at the rate you need to. If you don't start taking chunks out now, you're going to have to get creative. How long does Clampett stick to this very inside? He drives it in really deep that time. He made up almost a whole 1/10 of a second on the entry to the corner, and he gave all of it back on the exit. So two very different strategies to what these drivers are doing attacking these turns.
But I do love this view. It just shows the work that Clampett's putting in. It's inch by inch. It's not even foot by foot, slowly but surely. But as we continue to say, here comes Steven Wilson on the rear bumper of the 97. Now, if Steven will stay committed to the 97, I actually think he can help him along a little bit of draft down the straightaways, maybe some overall paces. Now the lead is under 0.3 of a second.
He is the closest he has been all night long. Wilson in third. Quite a conundrum that the 17 car has to decide with. Yes, he wants to fight for the race win, but I'm sure if he tries any move on Logan Clampett, Clampett's going to make that 97 Logitech G Chevrolet for William Byron Esports as wide as humanly possible. He does not want the 32 VRS Toyota for 2311 racing of Keegan Leahy to get away from him. They are separated by only 6 car lengths as they head off to 3 and 4 again.
You mentioned William Byron Esports. That is the team owner for Logan Clampett. William Byron eliminated from the NASCAR playoffs with an amazing drive at the Roval, leading late, and things just went away with a late caution. Can the fortune switch? Can his driver Logan Clampett find his way in and win a championship today? A great corner, nice and tidy around the bottom as Keegan Leahy opens up that entry.
Oh, it looked like the 97 slid a little bit out of turn number 2 that time, and the numbers don't reflect that he lost any ground, but it looked like he was starting to slide it. I mean, you're looking at guys that have about 42 laps on their tires. Logan pitted 1 lap earlier than Keegan did, so there is a microscopic advantage in favor of Logan Clampett, who went for the, or I should say Leahy pitted a lap before, Logan Clampett a lap after, so he's got the 1 lap better tires, but I don't think it matters 40 some odd laps in. The difference is going to come down to how you've treated them, and Leahy has been able to be much more reserved on this run than Logan has. Remember, he has driven past about 4 cars since they left pit road. He has erased 3+ seconds of differential to get to this moment, but he's still stuck at 4/10. You can take a look at the gap. His last lap to the leader's last lap, the gap is right there, 0.4 of a second. The lap times are within 6/100ths of a second of each other. It is hard to differentiate the two right now, and I think that puts obviously the advantage in the core to the 32.
But let me direct your attention to the line of cars now behind Keegan Leahy. That is Logan Clampett, Steven Wilson, Michael Conti, and yes, Mitchell DeYoung in the 5th position, consistently faster than the 2 leaders. We heard the report. They thought they had car left. Well, here it is. 10 laps to go. They're within 1 second in the 5th position.
He's exactly where he wants to be. Here is the onboard perspective of the 3rd place car in the championship, Mitchell DeYoung, who started on pole here this afternoon, his 6th pole of the year. We talk about 2311 Racing. They have more than half of the pole positions in this series this year. Incredible stuff that they've been able to do. DeYoung fell on the back foot through the latter half of the 2nd run and into this 3rd, but all of this battling has brought him back into the conversation, and here comes Michael Conti. Conti will go to the outside of Wilson. He will make a pass to get around for 3rd. Conti won here last year at Texas. He is in the mix to play spoiler.
It seems like nobody really wants to take the battle to Clampett, giving him the space he needs, but he's unable to make any ground, and I think the laps have run out. The patience have run out. The cars behind Clampett as we see Mitchell DeYoung move into the 4th position.
So DeYoung makes a pass. He's around Wilson. What does he do? And these are teammates now running for 2nd and 3rd. I just don't find any situation where Michael Conti is going to put a move on his teammate and roommate, I should say, right? Logan Clampett. He pushed him basically that time in turn number 3. But the intervals have started to go in favor of Keegan Leahy. It was as much as 0.6 of a second a lap ago, the difference between those two. So I think the 8 car is going to play blocker. Not only does, the battle for the championship mean the most, but there's a big pay difference in this battle we're watching behind. Second place in the title, Steve, gets $25,000. Third gets $15,000. So those are both good paydays. But if Mitchell DeYoung can get around Logan Clampett or Michael Conti to fight with Logan Clampett, that could be $10,000 on the line between the battle for second and third position.
Maybe Michael Conti has a deal with the 97, his roommate, saying, hey, if I can keep you in second, you can pay rent for a few months.
And it just looks like it's a strategic play by the 8 car to push the 97 however he can. But the lap times do not lie. Coming to 5 laps to go this time by, Clampett is still stuck a half of a second off of Keegan Leahy with $100,000 hanging in the balance. DeYoung still in 4th. Let's see if he tries to make a play for the 8 car.
I love to just listen to the throttle work. You see the focus on the left-hand side. I love listening to the work of these drivers working that throttle in the corners.
Looks like DeYoung struggling to get up to Conti. What is going to happen in the final 4 laps of this 2021 championship? Keegan Leahy is in position to close this out. He has clean track in front of him. Bobby Zelensky's down in position number 12. Your championship 4 cars, top of your screen. 1, 2, 4, and 12 on track right now. Now 3 laps to go for Leahy.
Leahy continues that wide entrance into the corner, which gives him a great drive straight off the bottom. They are stacked up behind Logan Clampett. Michael Conti in the 8 doing all the work he can to push the 97 and hold off the other 2311 car in 4th. Mitchell DeYoung, that number 23 car.
Popsicle 6 in the air. 2 laps to go. 3 miles for Keegan Leahy to close this thing out. He needs to get to the white flag for this race to be official. Clampett still second, back to 4/10 off, but it looks like he needs a mistake out of Leahy if he wants to be able to get there. DeYoung looking under Conti for 3rd position, can't make it happen. Penultimate time in 3 and 4.
Leader Keegan Leahy leaves turn 4 and sees the white flag. 1 lap to go, about 0.4 of a second between him and the championship.
And it is clean racetrack. It is his to decide. Leahy comes into this race as one of the top 5 drivers on the all-time wins list. Was so close to a championship a couple of years ago, back in 2019, but wasn't able to close the deal. Tonight, he seeks redemption. Final time at turn 4 for the driver out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Keegan Leahy is the 2021 eNASCAR iRacing champion. And finally, Steve, an opportunity for him to let it all out after being locked in all night long. A congratulatory bump from Logan Clampett there, and they share words on the radio right now congratulating each other. Keegan Leahy has done it, and in the 12th season of eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competition, he becomes the 9th different champion. This one goes without saying. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of eNASCAR.
It's awesome to watch the emotion, the jubilation on the face of Keegan Leahy. We saw so close in past years, but always race clean. Tonight, a complete green flag race, and Keegan Leahy puts on a masterful performance for a championship.
And talk about the teams that finished 1, 2, 3. Keegan Leahy for 2311 Racing, formerly Denny Hamlin Racing. You got William Byron Esports in second, Junior Motorsports in third. All of those team owners so involved in the sim. Awesome to see this success, Steve, but I'll give this one to you. We are on the radio with your 2021 champion, Keegan Leahy.
Keegan, congratulations. We saw the emotion. Very simply, what does it mean to be a champion?
I have no idea. It'll take me about a month to process this, I'm sure. Hi, Mom. Hi, Nana. Everyone's watching it. Like, my whole family's watching this, seriously. And I'm sure they're cheering louder. I can probably hear them all the way from Jador or wherever they're at. So, yeah, this is so huge to me, so huge to my organization. I'm sure it's huge to 2311. I don't know where to start. I guess, thank you, everybody.
Well, let's start with this race. Your teammate led early. You got by him about at the 2/3 mark, but Logan Clampett on a green flag race goes from the back to second. He made it difficult, closing down to within a half a second at times. How nervous were you over those last 25 laps?
Oh, man, those last 25, call it the last 50 or so, I knew Logan was very fast. He blew by my teammate Bobby Zelensky on the same setup, and then my 2311 teammate Mitchell DeYoung couldn't really do anything with him. So I didn't know if I could hold him off. My plan, which worked, I think, was to just save tires until he got to me. And whatever happened when he got to me, hopefully we got even cars to race. And luckily I was able to hold that little gap.
Well, it's been 18 races, so many ups, so many downs, victory lane, pole positions. You have proven time and time again that you're a deserving champion for the sport. So this is your moment. Who do you want to thank? Congratulations. I know it takes a lot of people and partners to make this happen.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for the opportunity too. Virtual racing schools on my hood, Declan, or wherever. I got to thank them for not only allowing me to make this into a career. Like, I'm working for a virtual racing school full time, and this is why I'm able to compete at this level. Got to thank them also for their hardware. I can hit this thing as hard as I want. It's not going to break. So thanks, Virtual Racing School. Logitech's not on the car, but I appreciate them and all the gear they've given me over the years. And yeah, just 2311 and especially Denny Hamlin for believing in me. Hi, everybody. I told everyone I'd say hi who's watching at home, but I really can't go through every name. I'm sure there's so many, but thank you all so much.
Well, Keegan, congratulations to your 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion.
Oh, let me say this. Whoever's at home, wait for me. I'll be there in 45 minutes.
All right, there you have it. Wait for the man. 45 minutes, and he will be there to celebrate. Well, Keegan Leahy went to victory lane as the champion, but Logan Clampett perhaps put on the drive of the night. Logan, I know it's disappointing to come so close, but from nearly last to second, an amazing run all night long. Congratulations on a good year. I know it's bittersweet, but you have to hold your head held very high with the performance you put on.
Yeah, Steve, that was, you know, it was, I wasn't even expecting to get second that race after we qualified 31st there. You know, I qualified 31st and my heart sank, and, you know, we were up to like 25th by lap 10 or 21st by lap 10. It was just, God, man, it was a fast car, great season, you know, to, you know, run up again, second time. I mean, it means a lot more this year for sure, just because of how big the series has grown. But you know, it is definitely you know, bittersweet to come up that short, you know, 5/10. But you know, congrats to Keegan. I know he's put on just phenomenal seasons every single year, so he definitely deserves one. Hopefully, you know, my time will come. But yeah, second is what we'll have to deal with tonight. But you know, we just, yeah, thank you to, you know, Nick Ottinger, Michael Conti, Matt Busa, you know, all the Coke drivers there for helping me out. You know, we just compare lap times every single week, and you know, it makes me challenge myself to get faster. And you know, our other guys, you know, Brandon Hastings, he crew chiefs for Ottinger, Jason Brophy, crew chiefs for Matt Busa, Dustin Hall, crew chiefs for me, and Jason Loafing, spots for me. Jason's been there all season long. Dustin hopped on during the playoffs. Adam Benefield, he spots Michael Conti, and Brandon Wilkinson, he spots Nick Ottinger. You know, we have just such a great team all around. And thank you to the fans for watching, you know, every other week. To those dedicated fans, thank you so much. You guys are, you know, what helps our series grow. So, you know, just, yeah. I mean, sorry for talking so much.
Hey, it's been a long year. You've earned it, a win in Atlanta
man.
and 3 seconds to finish the season. So there it is. You see Michael Conti in the room, a little knuckle bump. And I'm going to tell you what, Evan, it was a great race to watch, a great race to commentate. I appreciate you letting me join you. Congratulations to Logan in his second.
I need to thank my sponsors real quick. Hold on. Logitech, thank you so much, guys, for coming on. It sucks we couldn't win the championship like Nick last year, but to get second is amazing. Thank you to Sim Seats for coming on board the last few races for our season. You know, I'm in a Sim Seats rig right now. It's just so amazing. Ever since I switched to it, it's just been just insanely good. And thank you to William Byron Esports, and Jody for all the help and picking me up all season long. And thank you to you guys. Thank you to you guys for, you know, being in the broadcast booth. I hope you guys really enjoyed commentating this season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series.
Well, congratulations, Evan. An excited second place finisher. It seems like a smidge of disappointment to be second, but a great way to finish the year. Congratulations, Logan. 3 seconds to end the year. It's an impressive run.
Thank you, guys.
He was so good, Logan. Thanks for giving us some time at the end of this year, and probably was the best car in this race. What an incredible drive for him to end up in second. So for the last time in 2021, let's take a look at our Coca-Cola move of the race. Remember, early in this one, it was Mitchell DeYoung who had dominated it, with Keegan Leahy following him through, Steve. And then at the midway point, the 32 finally saw an opening, took it, and never looked back as we look at it from the onboard.
Keegan was patient, but he knew the 97 was coming, so he made a move. That's that high entry we saw in the closing laps, was allow him to get a good run off the bottom of the corner, uses that run, that momentum to drive up to the door of the 23, and Mitchell, wisely at this position of the race, doesn't put up much of a fight. He understands it's better to get in line and continue to run nose to tail, try to make the fastest lap times possible. Who knew the race would run green from there?
And it was all said and done, a caution-free race at Texas. First ever time the championship has been determined here in Fort Worth. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola full race results. Championship finishers 1, 2, and 5. Leahy, Clampett, and DeYoung, the top three in the title fight. Conti and Wilson, though, were right in the mix as well in this one.
Yeah, you see Bolin, Luza, Duvall round out your top 10. Bobby Zelensky back there in 12th. That was the 4th championship contender. He just never seemed to have the pace. Tried some alternate strategy, ran a little bit along, but in the end, never had a caution that would help him. He came home in the 12th position.
And continued on down through ahead of the likes of Nichols at the midway point in this race. Guys who had good starting positions, like Vicente Salas was a top 10 car. We saw guys like Michael Guest and Bob Bryant have good starts, just really not get the result that they wanted in the end. And unfortunately, at the very bottom there, Nathan Lyon, 40 laps down, Steve, but didn't technically go to the garage. So all 40 cars who started this race, or at least in one piece at the end of the night, all 39 of them ahead of Nathan Lyon on track. That's pretty impressive.
Very impressive. 31 on the lead lap, so it was unbelievable. And this was the conversation, the race within the race. Who would make it? Who would be relegated in the end? Garrett Maines gets the final position in the 20th spot. Jake Nichols, unfortunately, the first driver out. He'll have to find his way back to the series.
And it's big for guys like Alfala. They don't need to fight their way back in. So past series champion Alfala stays in. Novak stays in. Luza stay in. So that'll be 3 drivers with championships on their resume back here again fighting in 2022. And for the drivers below that top 20 cut line, well, they're going to have to fight in the offseason through the eNASCAR Road to Pro Contender iRacing Series. They'll be joined by all of these drivers.
Yeah, this is the rest of the top 40 guys in this series. As you mentioned, all of these names right here go back Road to Pro and try to find their way back.
and they'll be fighting against the top 20, of course, from the contender iRacing series, or the qualifying iRacing series, I should say, in that contender series. That's going to be a fun bit of action here during the off season. But as our 2021 season comes to a close, we want to say, thanks to everybody who's been a part of this, Steve. And I'll say first, thanks so much for you for joining us, right, and covering these races with us. So fun to call these races with you, to get the input from guys like you and Parker, and a big thanks to everybody else who's been in the booth this year, from Tim to Blake and everybody else on pit road that has helped us out and race for a lot of big money on this sim, right? I mean, you're invested in this as a team owner. I appreciate you giving us the time and joining us, and want to get your final thoughts on how this 2021 season comes to a close.
Well, first of all, it's an amazing series. It's an amazing platform that iRacing has provided for race fans all around the globe. And I think that's really what it is. I've made my entire living in racing. I love it. I ran race teams, and now I'm in the broadcast booth, and I get the call with the NASCAR playoffs here over the next few weeks. But this eNASCAR Coca-Cola series has just really given an opportunity for everyone to experience racing, right? This is what it's like. You don't have to have a fancy race car. You don't even have to have a local track. You just have to have a computer system, go on to iRacing and race all your buddies. I, much like Dale Jr., love those street stocks, because these guys in the Coke series, they make it look way easier than it really is. I will tell you, they are the best of the best. It's great competition in the end. A half a second was the difference in the championship. I had so much fun, so many different storylines. Excited to come back and do it again next year.
Ready to go for year 13 coming up next year. Of course, would it be possible with everybody else behind the scenes, so you don't necessarily see? There's the whole team at iRacing headquarters. You got Drew, Cisco, Joe, Sean, Tyler, Corey. Everybody else has been a part of these shows tonight. For everybody behind the scenes as well, a lot of people remote into these broadcasts to help us out. For Jay, Tim, Alex on the cameras, David and James helping out behind the scenes, Tim Terry, Justin, Bo, Ryan, Zach, Taylor. You got Amy Long, Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland, and Blake McCandless as well, joining us on the Countdown Degrees show. Everybody makes these shows possible. I don't think most people, Steve, know all of the work that goes in behind. So I want to give a huge thanks to everybody else for making us look good.
Yeah, listen, it takes a whole team to make what I'm trying to say make sense on air with some great pictures. So I appreciate y'all welcoming you to the iRacing team. You guys put on a great broadcast. It's so much fun. And like I said, I can't wait to come back and do it again. Every year, there's new twists and new turns. This year did not disappoint.
I think you're stuck with us now, officially part of the iRacing family, Steve. Thanks again. Until next time, that is it for us here tonight from Texas. So on behalf of our entire team, everybody at iRacing, NASCAR, and our partners at Coca-Cola, for the broadcast team tonight, for Tim Terry on pit road, for Steve Letarte, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Keegan Leahy as your 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. We head into the offseason. You can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR to stay up to date, and we will see you in February in Daytona. Good night.